welcome to episode 90 of Geeks Who Like Sports. First off, Happy New Year, everyone. It's the first episode of 2021. As always, I am Ray Carcillo here in beautiful Los Angeles, California. My best friend entire world over in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. Lee Elias. Lee, how are you doing today?
I am over here in beautiful Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, which is gray outside. Ray, last week I showed some gifts from the holidays, and I forgot the most important ones. I want to start off just by showing everybody that you and I are recruiting, right? Because I have the official owner's manual, as I'm showing on the screen right now, to build the a base. A star base with incredible firepower, and we are hiring a few 100,000 people to help us build this base. Now, I did put this on Facebook. Many of you volunteered wisely, and I'm looking forward to it. No, this was a great gift, actually, from our producer, Caitlin. It's called the Imperial Death Star Owner's Workshop Manual. I'm not going to lie to you. Like, this is one of those books, like, oh, that's cool. Then you start reading it, and then you're reading it, like how to build it. And it's an in-depth history of the Death Star, and like things I didn't know about. Anyway, it's pretty cool. It even has like the official name. So the Death Star's the DS-1 Orbital Battle Station. I thought that was hilarious. But as if you're watching this, I'm just showing like schematics. This is a little bit more than the breakout books that they used to come out with. So really cool gift there. If you're interested in coming to help us build a battle station, Ray, listen, I'm sorry, I'm totally diverting here. But did you know there was another like a Death Star that was built which was just the base of it without any of the interior? Like, I'm reading about this. Apparently, the Geonosians built like a test Death Star with just the gun,
just the laser
right?
cannon,
I didn't even know that, right?
And actually, that was brought back in the Expanded Universe novels, actually, where it was just the cannon,
right?
Like,
and then it was destroyed later on.
Yeah, as
and
always,
then Jabba the Hutt tried to build one later on, but that's not canon anymore. But anyway, Ray, yeah, I'm doing great. We have a really great show today, and I'm looking forward to it. Episode 90, Ray, we've reached the 90s, which means where's my plaid shirt? I need a plaid shirt and
need some grunge. Start playing your Nirvana,
right? Maybe maybe we should start talking like marbles are in our mouths and just right. But it's gonna.
Some
be
say
great,
I already do.
Yeah.
So
well,
I mean,
I don't. But listen, it's gonna be a great 9 years or 9 episodes here from 90 to 99. Remember, in 1999, we're gonna be releasing our special edition, episode 1, The Phantom Menace's Return. We're going to do a whole we're going to re-release our first episode with new enhanced features. It's going to be great. We're not going to do that. Don't worry. And please don't go back and listen to episode 1.
We do have to think of something special for episode 100, which is coming quickly.
Yes.
Yeah, so, but
maybe
we'll get
those
90.
T-shirts made. Maybe we'll do that. Maybe we'll get some apparel made for everybody when we reach 100, because we do have a lot of people asking us for shirts and hats.
Yes, we've actually had a lot of folks ask
if
about
you're
that
interested
on
let us know.
In both our group and in my streams. So twitch.tv/RayCarcillo. So we have a great episode though for you guys. We got a lot to talk about. We've got college and professional football. We have some hockey, some basketball. We're gonna talk a little more about Wonder Woman, Doctor Who, Ted Lasso, Mandalorian.
We won't be talking about Wonder Woman for an hour, though. Although everybody seemed to enjoy that show. We were very worried that was too long, but all of you gave us positive feedback, so thank you for that.
Yes, it's going to be a very brief Wonder Woman segment as some more news comes out of that, and actually makes me feel very vindicated. Also need to mention this is a spoiler-heavy episode in everything that we're talking about. So just a general warning ahead, but now, especially with our first segment, we are going super heavy into spoiler territory here, because me and Lee, we weren't sure we were going to be able to finish the whole thing before the show today. First of all, by the way, we're recording a day early. We're actually recording on a Monday because there's no Monday Night Football, so we're recording a little earlier this week. It is January the 4th.
It's the responsible thing to do.
Yes, this will still air on Thursday.
The football games are fresh in Ray's mind. We wanted to get as much of that authentic juice from Ray as you possibly could.
Yeah, we're gonna have fun when we get to football. But me and Lee absolutely binged it nonstop. At least I was almost nonstop with Cobra Kai.
It was quick.
Cobra Kai season 3 debuted over the over New Year's weekend. As soon as I hit episode 3, the first 2 episodes were a little slow, kind of like, here's where we are, here's kind of a recap, here's where all the characters are after the events of the end of season 2. Like, about 2 months have passed between the end of season 2 and the beginning of season 3. And after they get done with that recap, it's just balls to the wall. It is nonstop. So yeah, we're talking Cobra Kai season 3. And I think this was my favorite season thus far, Lee. I really, really enjoyed a ton of this. What are your general thoughts on it?
I think that one is they're working with Netflix budgeting now, which means that they are offered quite a bit more production value, and that takes nothing away from the first 2 seasons, which were really good. So a few things with just the formatting of the show. So they were able to open up the show a little bit. They've kind of gone from PG to PG-13. Obviously, there's some more swear language in this, which really added to it, in my opinion. That's number one. Number two, I think that this was an amazing season in the sense of the characters were already established. So we, usually in season 3 or 4 is when a show really hits its stride, right? Now, this show's a little unique in that it's the Karate Kid, right? And we know these characters from our youth, or we discovered them later in life, depending on how old you are, right? This is what I'll say before we kind of dive into it. This show, what made this show so brilliant when it was on YouTube, was it perfectly towed the line between nostalgia and storytelling. And it is super self-aware. I've always compared this to Deadpool on some level, where it's aware like Deadpool, but doesn't break the fourth wall. They know what was ridiculous about the 80s, right? But they also knew what the heart of the Karate Kid was, and they have kept those so perfectly intact while attacking cancel culture, by the way, which is one of my favorite things about the show. All right? That is incredibly hard to write, incredibly hard to produce. You have to find the right actors and actresses. And they have nailed it. In fact, I've said this. There was not an episode in this season that was, again, you said it did ramp up, but there was no episode that wasn't in par. And we had talked about that. Even The Mandalorian had an episode that didn't fit.
Yeah.
Right. This show, every episode fit. It was beautifully done. I think, again, I'll get mine out of the way. I would give this season a 9 out of 10 on a ranking scale. Like, that's how good it was. By the way, gave Mandalorian the same rating. All right. So just completely wonderful television. I don't know how else to say it. It was fun. It's almost upsetting that we binge it so quickly.
That we binged it,
right? But go ahead, wherever you want to go from here. I'm happy to break down.
I'll say this. I think also what was interesting with a lot of the writing is that, kind of similar to some arcs for The Mandalorian, a lot of the half-hour episodes it was really an hour episode cut into 2 parts.
Totally, yeah.
Really, a lot of these episodes, it really kind of felt like. But I also really appreciated that a lot of the sub arcs. They would get through them, they would tie them off with a bow, and they would move on, and they would open something out. Like there was the first half of the season.
Last spoiler alert.
Yes, last spoiler alert. No, for sure. The LaRusso auto dealership is under threatened. Is threatened, right? By the end of episode 5, that's resolved. Right, and you move on to something else, and I really appreciated they didn't let a lot of these problems linger.
Yeah.
And while there's still obviously the overarching problem of Kreese and Cobra Kai and Miyagi-Do and Johnny Lawrence, and there's a lot of other bigger problems that were the engine for this show, so they could let the small problems fall off.
This is what I found, Ray, is that. And I was thinking about this with The Mandalorian and some of the other shows too. These kind of 10-episode series that are episodes range between 25 to 45 minutes. Yeah. They're almost like small trilogies. And I was realizing that. And if you look at it, even The Mandalorian itself, it's a 5-hour movie, but they're making that's what it feels like to me. They're kind of almost like these shortened trilogies. And again, they did such a great job this season. I really want to dive into it. Again, I don't want to go over the first few episodes. As you said, it's just a reintroduction to the characters. But some amazing things happen. If I may jump into one of my favorite sub-stories. Daniel needs to go to Japan to help save his auto dealership. And of course, while he's there, he's going to go to Okinawa. And anyone who's familiar with Karate Kid 2, Mr. Miyagi's from Okinawa. Karate Kid 2 takes place mostly in Okinawa with Sato and Chosen. And that was one of those overblown 80s movies that was really good, right? Nobody picks Karate Kid 2 over Karate Kid 1, but it was fun. And then Chosen was in this show. And I can't remember her name, the character, the love interest from the second movie.
Yeah.
I almost said Yuriko, but that's X-Men.
Yeah.
All right, Ray's going to look that up. But Chosen is a great character because he's this villain in the second film that is literally trying to kill Daniel. So the stakes were raised. And the actor who portrayed him, it was so well done that he appears and he has no emotion in his face, right? And he just doesn't break until he defeats Daniels and honks him on the nose. And as Ray said, we were talking about this. We all knew it was coming. Everybody knew it was coming. And to know that and nail it, and then for him to back up and start laughing, he's like, I've been waiting so long to do that. It's brilliant. The payoff is massive. And then this is what I love about the show. There was a lesson to be learned, right? Yeah. LaRusso is a flawed character, right?
Very much so.
Right?
Yes.
And in the 80s, the flaws were, he's young, right? Yeah. But now he's dealing with these flaws of, and I can relate to this, everything he thinks is right, he thinks is right. Like the way he sees the world.
Very black and white in his world. And because his thinking has given him a lot of great success over the course of his life, he's very much cemented in his ways. And Chosen really helped break that down. Obviously, by the way, the reason why you were thinking Yuriko, and the reason why it's stuck in my head too, is it's Aunt Yuki, who of course is no longer around, and then Kumiko, of course, is the I have a bad habit of mashing those together too.
At the same time, that's a pretty cool geek problem to have. The Yuriko and Kumiko. Anyway, the one thing I loved about this Chosen scene, and again, we'll break this down a little bit. Is when Chosen and Daniel are leaving the mountain after Chosen has taught him this lesson, they've rekindled and they've healed that relationship. That's another thing this show does great, is healing old relationships. Yeah, which we'll get into, of course, later as well. I thought this was a really well-written scene that I hope people don't look over, where Daniel says, well, you had a bad teacher, like you had a bad master. And Chosen stops and goes, you know what? Sato was a great master. He made mistakes, but he's actually the one who saved my life after our fight. Sato brought me back. That was a pretty big thing to write. You know, that's not a I mean, they could have just let that go. You had a bad teacher, kind of like you said to Johnny. And I love that Chosen was like, you know what? It's not that black and white, Daniel. Like, this guy also saved my life. And remember, Sato at the end of Karate Kid 2, he turns good. He buries the hatchet with Mr. Miyagi. Right. And, you know, and that's actually a big thing that he tries to keep. He tries to keep Chosen from making the deathmatch challenge to Daniel, but he fails. Chosen at that point was very far gone. But I just thought it was curious that they would they chose to write that. And again, that's actually really good writing. That's what I love about this show, is that it really has some deep storylines and some deep lessons to be learned. And again, I'm going to say this again. I love how it challenges cancer culture. And as they refer to it in the show, I don't like this, but the snowflake generation. I love that they bring that up. Mentioned that a few times. Right. Again, I don't think that's the right. I'm going to melt this whole snowflake generation, Ice which cold, is a great villain. Which was a great villain line. I was waiting for Schwarzenegger to break through the wall, and be like, "Did somebody say freeze?" No, I said melt. Oh, no, but and then. So the Chosen storyline was probably my favorite. And then, may I continue, or did you want to jump into one real quick? Yeah, no, I just really wanted to quickly mention also, I thought it was very interesting. I mean, again, the Chosen storyline was great. They also brought in Yuna, who's the girl who he saves in the typhoon, who then, another big theme, especially in the early episodes, is the good you put out into the world will come back on you, karma. Very karma-based. You're right. And then I didn't think she ends up, Yuna, the girl who Daniel saves in Karate Kid 2, it basically saves his company here in episode 5 of Cobra Kai, which was just a great way of, again, bringing stuff back from the past, bringing it to the present, and also putting a bow on what was a big problem in the first few episodes of the season. Right. And so that was my favorite storyline of the whole season. My second favorite storyline was Miguel learning to walk again. Now, what's funny is my wife was watching this, and Miguel clearly broke his back or something. Right. And let's just say they took some... And it starts off where when he comes out of the coma, he can't move his legs. Right. So he's paraplegic when he comes out of the coma. Yeah. With the intention, if he gets a surgery, he might be able to walk again. And I was watching this with my wife. Again, for those of you who listen, my wife is a physician. And I was telling her, like, look, they're taking some artistic... approaches here. Of course, someone with that surgery wouldn't be able to do karate again eventually. But Miguel is healed by his teacher, Johnny Lawrence, in I thought a really great way of Johnny Lawrence taking his own approach, his hard-nosed approach to trying to get him back. Yes. And then also Johnny grew a lot this season in the sense of this isn't working, so he had to rethink his strategy. So what does he do? He takes Miguel to a Twisted Sister, I should say, I'm sorry, a Dee Snider concert. Right. Yeah. Dee Snider, who's heavily involved in the marketing for this season. For those who don't know, the lead singer of Twisted Sister. If you're too young to know what that is, go listen to it.
Yeah.
All right.
You've probably heard a
Yeah.
lot of his
I mean,
music. You just don't realize it.
I really mean this. I actually won't sing it because I don't want to disrespect D. But
Yeah, please don't.
yeah, I won't. Challenge me. That was hard, but I'm not going to do it. All right. Oh God. Okay. Move on. Okay. So he's singing at a concert. That took everything I had, Ray. All right. And what happens is Miguel starts tapping his foot without realizing it. And that's how he starts his approach to recovery.
Yeah, he starts getting feeling back. Yeah.
And I thought that was a really cool main character storyline. Right now, I'm going to let Ray jump into this because there's pretty much 2.5 more main stories to this season, right? Obviously, I'll just get one of the overarching stories is like Cobra Kai versus Miyagi-Do, right? That is overarching throughout the entire season of like what's going to happen when these two powerful powers combine,
Right? Yeah.
Right. And it does Pinnacle, but that was actually the weakest storyline of the season, right?
It really didn't start to because again, it needs to be mentioned that Cobra Kai continues to exist.
Right.
Everyone's still training.
John Kreese is in charge, right?
Kreese is in charge now. Johnny's given up on Cobra Kai. He's focusing on Miguel.
Right.
He's also trying to help Robbie, who at this point we're just going to jump. He basically ends up in juvenile hall.
He does, yeah. Yeah, and he has a hard time in there, and that,
he has a very hard time in there. And Johnny basically he's got some tough decisions. He basically, in a way, he doesn't want to, but he chooses in a way his surrogate son over his biological son.
I thought that was a little weak. That he forgot. Like at one point, Johnny's supposed to meet with his,
and
he's
supposed to meet with Robbie and Juvie, and he blew it off.
I don't think that was super realistic. Like that was the only that didn't make sense to me. Too much in this season. There were a couple things like that, but again, artistic freedom, right? They didn't even try and make it sound like he forgot. It was just
no, he
kinda
didn't forget.
He just
That's the
chose
thing. He
else.
consciously chose to blow it off and stay with Miguel's
that
family.
didn't make sense. That didn't make sense to
and
me.
that was a really curious character choice.
Here's why it didn't make sense to me. Like there are deadbeat dads out there for sure, right? But like I just with what they're trying to do with this character, that didn't seem to make sense to me. Because he clearly cares about his son, right?
Yes.
So that was weird. Another storyline, if I may, Ray. That they did expertly. I would actually tie this. This might have actually been a little better than Miguel's coming back. Is John Kreese's backstory?
The Vietnam scenes with Kreese were amazing.
They were really good.
Well done.
Right.
And you see his evolution and his downfall really in Nam, really what it did to him. Because and that's the thing. You start off, he's actually a good guy.
Well, with mental illness running in his family, I thought that was clever. Right. So they do reveal that his mother was mentally ill and ended up committing suicide.
Committing suicide.
And then he goes to Nam, and I'll let you explain it because again, they're giving this character. This is what Mandalorian does really well too. Yeah. They're giving this kind of character that you don't know much about a really good backstory, right?
Yeah.
All right. Again, we've seen this done poorly before, Darth Vader, and we've seen it done very well before too, Obi-Wan Kenobi. But in this story, John Kreese's backstory makes him a much more three-dimensional character, not this just evil karate teacher.
Yeah, well, I mean, that's the thing is you find out that he learns a lot of the lessons that he now implements in Cobra Kai from his special ops captain, who was very brutal, very much no mercy. And the captain, in a way, kind of turns on his team at the end.
Right.
Very much an every man for himself kind of mentality. That really has a huge effect on Kreese. Kreese also loses the love of his life while he's in Nam, which very much affects him. He also meets his best friend, Terry Silver. Yeah, who they established that relationship. They also did a very much a bit of a rope-a-dope.
Yeah,
there's one dude who looks like he could be a young
and
Terry
laughs
Silver.
like him. He laughs like him too. I noticed that. Yeah, he's like,
he passes away, and you're like, oh, that wasn't Terry.
Yeah.
And then it's the other dude in the unit who they reveal was actually Terry.
I mean, what's weird is they didn't have to do that because I think we all would have been like, it's fine. But I was happy they did. Because it's like it was like a little bit of a surprise. Oh, that's not him. And then really the next scene they're like Silver. It's just like,
and the funny thing is like I wonder if Terry starts to grow a ponytail and all that other stuff in tribute to the guy who passes away in Nam. Right. In a way, it's almost kind of like a little bit of Terry's backstory. It was
really well done. Again, Terry Silver also in Karate Kid 3, major character in that. I mean, I don't want to spoil the movie for you if you haven't seen that one, but I mean, he knows John Kreese. We'll put it that way. And again, just it was really well done. And again, those backstories actually explain Karate Kid 3 a lot more too.
Yeah.
All right, and that Terry Silver
It explains
is indebted.
Silver's life debt to Kreese.
Right. It's
yeah.
just it's so well thought out. And again, I got to use The Mandalorian again. It's just the attention to canon detail and nods to the past, and that is really the key. I'm finding, Ray, to these shows succeeding is like the Krayt Dragon, right? It's a nod to the Krayt. You know what this is? Let me explain it for you, right? You know this character was in Nam with this guy. Let me explain it to you. Let me really dive into the depths of the canon, not make up it as you go along.
Yeah, well, I mean, and we're going to get into this later. It's a big difference when you have a plan. And Ralph Macchio, we'll just briefly mention, Ralph Macchio has said that there is a 6-season plan for Cobra Kai. And it is clear that these guys know what they're doing and they have an idea, and there's going to be a full arc. And like Lee mentioned, season 3 and 4 where things are peaking.
They're clearly written together. Yeah, clearly written together. In fact,
exactly.
I would go as far to say is they probably wrote them as one season and realized, like, we need to make this 2 seasons. Yeah. Right? Because the ending of the season very much is like a mid-season break. Like any other show.
Sure. I mean, and I guess we'll get into the ending later, but we will mention that it has been set up that Terry Silver is going to be the bad guy for season 4.
Right. Which could bring a lot of things. That could bring a whole lot of things. Obviously.
Vidal, you could bring so many characters back
Barnes.
for this.
Which would be funny.
It's going to be really interesting to see what they do with that going forward. We'll get more into that. And speaking of characters, I also briefly want to mention there was a lot of characters that's coming back. They brought back from season 1.
Right.
Here in season 3, and also some that they wrote off. We were both very sad to see that Aisha got written off.
Right.
She's no longer on the show. She's gone. But Yasmin is back.
Yeah.
Kyler is back.
And his dumb friend. Yeah.
Yeah, and well, it was them friend was only that didn't make the cut for Cobra Kai. Kyler is now part of Cobra Kai. He fits in, obviously there as Kreese goes on a recruiting drive, because Kreese is really kind of trying to he wants to crush Miyagi-Do, and if Johnny won't join him, then he will destroy him.
Right. I think we should mention too that Hawk Hawk has an interesting transformation through this season.
Very interesting arc.
It culminates in the last episode, but we basically watch him see all of his friends either expelled or leave Cobra Kai throughout the season, and they did a good job. There's going to be people that say, I'll spoil it out. He turns at the end to join back with Lawrence. Okay.
Yeah.
But what I found interesting is there's going to be people that say, well, that was quick. But no, they very much hinted that this was going to happen.
The whole season planted those seeds.
Right. This was not Anakin turning to the dark side. What have I done? Like, it wasn't like that at all. That was a great Anakin impression. I don't care what anybody said. All right. Like they hint that he's conflicted throughout the entire season. Right.
Yes.
So again, really well done. Another thing I want to talk about, huge reveal leading in from season 2 that Ray and I have been talking about since the end of season 2 is Allie coming back. Elizabeth Shue reprising her role as Allie.
Last 2 episodes of the season, yes.
First thing I want to say is this. This was the funniest thing about Allie, and I love how they wrote her. Elizabeth Shue is such a well-established actress who has had a full career. What's funny about her being there is she's such a better actress than Macchio and Zabka are actors. It's so obvious, too. It's not a shot at those 2 actors. It's just Elizabeth Shue is a really good actress.
She's on another level,
right. She clearly has had a full career. We have to remember, too, that Zabka and I almost said LaRusso, and Ralph Macchio, I mean, their careers culminated at the end of the 80s. I mean, in fact, Zabka's career culminated with Karate Kid 1. All right.
Yeah, and then Macchio made a couple other appearances here. They obviously
My Cousin Vinny,
right, which
was I think 1990, right? But after that, he hasn't really been around. Elizabeth Shue's been acting throughout this entire time. She's done very well. The Saints, whatever that movie was with Nick Cage. I know there's millions of them.
She's been around, but
The Boys. She was in The Boys too.
Yeah, she came around for really an episode and a half.
Right.
Because we should have mentioned that episode 10 is a little bit longer than the other episodes because they had a lot to tie up, but. They did it. First off, I'm glad they kind of also again did the rope-a-dope on us where they hinted at that her and Johnny, because she's like, I'm divorced, all the stuff that her and Johnny might like spark something back up, but they don't do that. They talk about how it was a nice day together, and that it's closure and it's done, and that because Johnny basically falls in love with something they've been hinting at the first 2 seasons. Miguel's mom, Carmen. That culminates finally this season. I'm glad they didn't threaten that with with Elizabeth Shue.
Here's what I'll say, and again, it's brilliant writing to me, Ray. It's brilliant in the sense of that this was actually more realistic than most shows, in the sense like he was tempted by his first love, right? They almost kiss, but like doesn't happen, and then Elizabeth Shue gives this really wonderful kind of not speech, but dialogue at the end about like, you know, it's fun to look back, it's fun to have a day like this, but we got to move forward to the present, and that's when Johnny Lawrence realizes it. What I found amazing about Allie's character, Elizabeth Shue's character, was that, and again, I don't want to play this down. This is genius to me. This is really, really good writing. She was the catalyst that caused the rivalry between Daniel and Johnny Lawrence, all right, being the first love of both their lives. And then she ends up being the catalyst to bring them together, which is exactly what needed to happen, right, in the larger story. That's brilliant to me. They went back to the beginning to heal this because Johnny and Daniel really can't come together without this.
Until that,
right? And she gives this great dialogue of you, and we've all known this, but she says it. You two are more alike than you realize. That's what the whole series has been hinting at. These two have been flirting with each other. I mean, Daniel and Johnny the whole show, and I love that Allie is the one to bring them together. Yeah, just really, really good writing. Right? I challenge you at home. I mean this. I'm not saying this is the only show that does this. Show me another show that's done something like that where it makes that much sense. Like, that is a deep plot. That's a deep-ass plot, Ray. You know what I mean? And they did it perfectly. And
it was really, really well done.
And I love that Elizabeth Shue was there. I mean that.
Yeah, and it also brings us to the culmination of the season. Of course, Johnny goes off for a brief time, starts his own dojo again in the park.
Eagle
which
Fang.
Really just Eagle Fang is just a few students in the park just kind of continuing to train. But at the end of the season, Miyagi-Do and Lawrence, it's two senseis. They come together. They're all meeting in the back of Miyagi-Do to take down Kreese, who, and like we mentioned, Hawk has a change of heart. He goes back to Johnny.
Well, there's a major fight. There's a major fight at the LaRusso residence.
I mean, and there's also an earlier point where Hawk breaks Dimitri's arm.
Right.
Where he was very conflicted on because, like, Dimitri was, like, obviously his best friend for a long time. But when Kyler and others started to show up and really kind of threaten Hawk, he kind of realized that Kreese has no loyalty to him. And that was really when a lot of what Johnny's words kind of sunk in for him. That he's like, wait, Kreese is just using us for his own personal vendetta.
And Daniel's daughter, too, has a scene like that. Where you know, again, they're really starting to establish Lawrence and LaRusso now as more of the Miyagi role. In fact, Daniel says in this series, and this was on purpose, you know, I'm the same age Miyagi was when I met him now, which is funny and weird, which is about 50. Right. But like these are all very intentional things of like Daniel and Johnny learning that like it's time to step up. We got to put our crap aside, which is, by the way, the right time in the show to do that. Right. Because this couldn't keep going without getting ridiculous. And it's time for us to become Mr. Miyagi to our kids. Right. And again, when there's this massive fight at the LaRusso residence, it very much emulates the school fight from the first season, second season. It was fun. And then again, Daniel and Johnny confront Kreese, as you were saying, and even Daniel's like, "You came after my kids," and that was actually
in my house.
Right, that was some of the best acting I thought that Macchio did this season, because like that's how I would react. I would go if someone came to my house. I'd kick his ass too.
Anger, just the rage and the fury.
And then obviously Robbie wasn't in the season too much, but he turns to Cobra Kai, which
he goes, exactly.
It was a little forced, but like also like okay. I think everyone's like, it makes sense. You gotta set it up.
Robbie and Tori now are kind of hinting at being a thing.
Right.
Tori has kind of become the de facto leader of Cobra Kai amongst the students, with Hawk on, Miguel staying with Johnny.
The sides have been set. Season 4.
Yeah, exactly. We kind of have the rosters locked in place. And also I want to say this also, they did a great job of fixing Dimitri.
Totally. Yeah, he was not annoying this season at all.
Yeah, the first two seasons, Dimitri really got on my nerves, and this season, maybe his transformation into a borderline cool kid was a little quick, but he was definitely far less annoying, and his lines, his dialogue was really important to a lot of other characters.
Right.
And so I think that was really
he's growing up.
Really important.
He's growing, exactly. Like you said, he was annoying in the first season, but he's also annoying most of the second season. And like you said, they could have got here quicker, but they did a good job. He's part of it now. He's becoming a leader. Again, it's funny because all of these characters, the actors and actresses, have clearly hit mid-puberty or past it, because they're starting to look
Yeah.
older now.
I was gonna say
yeah.
from season 2 to season, especially the
there's
younger ones like Bert and Nathaniel.
Right,
those
right.
guys each probably grew like 4 inches between
Right.
the 2 seasons. Like
It's pretty funny. It's pretty funny, but
yeah.
Again, the final hint is, by the way, with John Kreese is that he calls Terry Silver. And again, if you guys want, and if you don't know who that is, go watch Karate Kid 3. That's the best thing I can tell you to do.
Yes.
It opens up the book, and as the season ends, again, Cobra Kai and Eagle Fang have combined into one dojo, and they're going to take on Cobra Kai at the All Valley tournament. At least that's what they're saying.
Which was threatened for a brief time because
Right, that was a fun scene too.
after the high school thing, they thought karate was a bad thing. And also, by the way, it was also a really good point where they said they're like, karate's not the problem.
Right.
It's kind of all us,
you,
right?
yeah.
Like. So, but I also love the one line, which is also very much a poking fun at them, where it's the one councilwoman when they're having the hearing on whether they should keep the tournament or not, and she's like, "I don't understand what the obsession is with karate in the valley."
Right.
Like, and it's true. It is kind of like a funny thing that this fictional 55-year-old tournament now, and it's like. There's all these dojos in the valley.
I love all those throwaway lines. There were two more. As obviously there's a school board meeting, and LaRusso says something like, "This guy used to bully me," and there's a guy in the back who goes, "Bull, I heard you were the bully.
I heard you were the bully."
And Daniel
which is, of
gives
course,
this quizzical look because
yeah.
that guy's the internet. There's all those stories that Daniel LaRusso was the bad guy. The other throwaway line that again, the show's not afraid to make fun of itself, is when Daniel's wife says, "Oh, you haven't heard about the karate dojos and their ability to try and save the valley's soul by using karate?" I was like, that was brilliant too. And she's drunk when she says it. Again, overall, just a phenomenal series. Only gripe, and again, these are surface gripes. I'm not trying to be a troll here. The weakest part of the show was the karate, which is funny.
Yeah.
But it goes to show you it's not about the karate, as Ray says.
Right.
The choreographed scenes. And again, look, you're dealing with teenagers, kids in the early 20s that are not probably top martial arts people. So the karate was actually the funny part of the show. But for some reason, it seems to fit. But like even especially when like LaRusso's fighting, it's like you can tell these guys are older. You know what I mean? Like
it's very choreographed.
Right, but it doesn't take away from the show at all.
It's fine.
Must watch series if you haven't watched any of it. This season will leave you feeling wonderful and thirsty for more. And again, the only other surface thing was it ends well, but it definitely ends feeling like a little bit like Empire Strikes Back. Like, well, wait, what's going to happen? Right?
Yeah.
Like the other seasons give you kind of a finality and then a tease. Right?
Yeah.
The first season, like it's the end of the All Valley tournament and a tease that Kreese is back. The second is a tease that Allie's back, right? And that Miguel needs to be taken care of, right? This one it's wide open at the end. You don't know what's going to happen. But as Ray said, they've planned season 4 already. It looks like they're planning through season 6, where they probably should stop. But
that's the thing. I was genuinely shocked when I heard that Machio said there'd be 6 seasons because. Right. I don't know. I mean, I don't know where they can go after season 4 after Silver.
This is what I'm going to say. Season 4 will end this arc.
Cobra Kai, the college years.
No, yeah, right. When I wake up in the morning and I'm not going to do that.
I have not watched
the
that.
The only
yet,
other place they can go, if they don't want some long ass epilogue, is they must get Hilary Swank to come back to play her character from the next Karate Kid.
That would be fascinating.
All right. Hilary Swank is an Oscar-winning actress. All right. Yeah. Again, kind of like Elizabeth Shue in the sense of like well-established actress, but that is the last in terms of all of the Karate Kid things they're sewing back together. That is obviously the biggest thing out there that Mr. Miyagi trained her. There's only one mention of Daniel in that movie. It would be very cool to close that gap, and then that would be it. There would be nowhere else to go after that. But that is the only gap. And again, funny that. When Hilary Swank did that movie in the 90s, I think that might have been like her first or second movie, right? Like now she's this Oscar-winning actress, so you could totally pull this off of like the hidden student. Does Daniel even know about her, right? Why was Mr. Miyagi not around, or was this in LA? I don't think this was even in California. So I might be wrong on that, but yeah, that was a good 30 minutes about Cobra Kai. Listen, 9 out of 10 for me. Phenomenal series. Again, I think the fact Ray and I could have watched it all in one shot if I had started earlier in the day. Great television.
I watched the first two. I watched the first 2 episodes. Then made the mistake of watching the third as well, and that's when I was like, "Damn it, they got me again." And I stopped it, went and made lunch or whatever, and then
It's
or
good.
dinner,
It's
and then
that
basically
good.
watch the next 7 in a row.
It's that good. The show is that good. Cobra Kai season 3. Go watch the show.
Yeah. So yeah, just it starts a little slow, folks, if you haven't been paying attention. But by episode 3, you're hooked. So
like
speaking of other streaming shows, it's official. We're gonna move on now. We're talking obviously we talk about the Mandalorian, and Star Wars a lot. We're again very high ranking for us. It's official. Book of Boba Fett will start in December of 2021. We're 11 months away. We're counting down. But Mandalorian season 3 will not start until probably towards the end of Book of Boba Fett. They said in Q1 2022 at this point.
Right.
That is official. There was some confusion there with release dates, with the D23 announcements, all this other stuff. They're like, no, these two shows are not going to be running parallel to each other for the most part. It's going to be Book of Boba Fett and then Mandalorian. So
and
that's
just so you know, if you're like, oh, that seems so long. Fear not, Marvel shows are starting in just a couple weeks. WandaVision.
Yeah, we're gonna start talking. We're gonna start covering WandaVision in not next episode 92. I think will be the beginning of our WandaVision coverage.
92.
So stay tuned to
Great
that.
year. Great year in American history.
Yes, yeah, and also of course join us on StreamLounge.io as we're gonna be watching those,
soon too.
rewatching those as we what we did with Mandalorian. So that'll be a lot of fun. Other great streaming stuff. I've wanted to see this show. I don't have Apple TV. I don't have that service, so I haven't been able to.
Right.
But I'm a huge Jason Sudeikis fan, and like Lee, I've heard nothing but amazing things about this show. Lee, you have binged Ted Lasso.
I did.
Tell the fine people your thoughts on it.
So let me give you some backstory on why I watched this show. Okay, so it started out as a rumbling. My brother called me and says, "Hey, have you seen this show, Ted Lasso?" And I go, "No, I don't have Apple TV Plus." He goes, "You need to watch Ted Lasso immediately." And he was really like, "You need to watch this." I was like, "Why?" He's like, "It's you." I was like, "What do you mean it's me?" I thought that was a little weird. I was like, "All right, maybe I'll check it out." Then I was doing an interview with someone who works with players in the NHL. He goes, "You need to watch Ted Lasso." And then like 4 or 5 people, Ray, were like, "You need to Lee, you specifically, Lee, need to watch this show, Ted Lasso." So what's funny is, just to give you an idea how much people wanted me to see this, my brother, who I love very much, gifted me Apple TV Plus just to watch one show. Okay,
wow.
So obviously, I'm like, all right, I'm now obligated to watch it.
You're obligated, right?
All
You
right.
have to.
Now, Ray, you may know this, that at one point in my life, I was an American hockey coach that went over to England to coach in England.
Yes, and won a championship.
And won a championship. Right. Thank you. By the way, I wasn't even going to say that, but I coached.
Yeah, I'm not going to let people forget that you're a championship winning coach. So
I do appreciate that. Okay.
Yeah.
Ted Lasso is about an American coach that goes to England to coach football, soccer. All right.
Yeah.
All right. And I'm like, oh, okay, I can relate to this, right? Dude, this show is my life in England, and it's terrifying. Okay, I'm serious. And I was watching this with Caitlin, our producer, and she even said, like, "Why is that you?" multiple times, right? So I don't want to spoil this one. I don't want to give any spoilers on this show because you haven't seen it. All I will say is this: Ted Lasso, by the way, some of you may remember this, was a made-up character that appeared before NFL on NBC several times before, I think, the 2018 season. Okay,
right.
And it was the same premise, this American coach coaching football in England, but it was like these little things that Sudeikis made. So actually, there's a credit on the show that's like based off the character that appeared on this. It's like a new credit that I've never seen before. Huh. All right. So long story short is, it's an American coach that's hired by a UK football team, soccer. Right. I won't tell you why he's hired. All I will tell you this is, number one, the show is super hilarious. I was crying, laughing out loud almost every episode. Number one. Number two, like Cobra Kai, this show has a heart to it. A deep, deep written heart. Their characters are explored. They're all flawed. They establish that very early, in fact. And it is really a nice balance between the humor and the drama of the show. And when I say drama, I don't mean like TNT drama. I mean like comedy drama, right?
Right.
All right, but it's there, right? This is what I love most about the show. Is that, and Ray, I might need you to comment on this like for me, but the whole aura of Ted Lasso is team building, team bonding, and that being the catalyst for success, which may or may not be winning, depending on how
the core tenet of everything you do.
so right, and there are some interesting conversations that are about winning at the professional level, which does matter. I'll tell you all that right now. Yeah. All right. like make no qualms about it. I'm a team builder. My wheelhouse when I work with sports teams is creating that team bond and everything that goes around that. If you want to talk about it with me, comment or contact me because I love talking about it. Ray knows that. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. But I will tell you this too. At the professional level, and it depends on the level you're coaching, winning really, really matters. Okay. And I always love the back and forth of those two worlds together, right? Same thing in college, youth sports is a little different, right? This show just is so good. It's so well written. It's so funny. And then the little quirks of an American coach in England. I got every single one of those right between the eyes, right? The only thing that I didn't like is Ted Lasso doesn't like tea, and I love tea. But like the things that were happening in this show, like and one of the ones that, and this isn't a spoiler because this has been out there, but they're talking about, the different countries. He goes Wales and Scotland. He's like, how many countries are in this country? And they go 4. And then he wisely added the line, it sounds a lot like America right now, which I thought was really funny. But all I'm going to say is this. It's a brilliant show. Ray, I will gift you Apple Plus so you can watch it. It's that good because there's another show on Apple Plus that you need to watch as well about the gaming industry, by the way. So, you know what, Ray? Merry Christmas. I'm gifting you Apple Plus as well. I'm paying that one forward. And you can't do anything about it because I said it on the air.
How many episodes is Ted Lasso and how long is it?
It's 10 episodes, all of them about a half an hour.
So kind of like Cobra Kai.
It's exactly like it. They're easy to watch. They're fun to watch. And I'll tell you this, last thing I'll say about it. Some very, very deep coaching advice moments in this show. I don't know who their coaching consultant was, but it was done at a professional level. And I don't say that ever about television. I do say all the time we don't know what's going on in the locker room, all that stuff. I'm telling you from my experience, whoever consulted this show on coaching was done at a professional level. All right? It is very similar, keeping in mind it's a comedy, to what goes on in a real locker room.
Awesome. Well, that's a very high recommendation. I'm looking forward to it. I've wanted to see it. There's again, this is the thing is that there's so many subscription services out there. Is that it's a lot. So
yeah, look, it's not something you want to like. You might not want to buy the whole thing for one show, but I'm going to tell you that it's worth it. Also, Ray, and I'll have a report on this soon. I'm watching another show called Mythic Quest, which is about the gaming industry and this guy that's made this open world game and the trials and tribulations of working in a gaming office. So I know there's 2 shows you'll like on there. I'll tell you that right.
Cool.
Right.
Cool. Great. Also, sorry, I kicked my microphone if anybody hears any static. Sorry.
Right.
About
How
that.
could you? Right. Ray doesn't care about you. I would never kick my. Oh my God. All right. Let me. Sorry. That's it. Unsubscribe. 1-star review. We're done.
Yeah. Other news. Quick changes. This was interesting. Like breaking that the next series of Doctor Who will be Jodie Whittaker's last.
Right. Which is on par.
It's standard. I think this is her 3rd or 4th. Usually the doctors don't last that long. Typically they rotate, so she'll have another transformation.
Right.
But
regeneration. Regeneration.
Right.
Whovians are going to come after you.
Right. I think David Tennant's was a little bit longer, but that's because David Tennant really just loved.
It was 5 years. It was 5 years, and everybody loved him. Keeping in mind, too, he was the 2nd Doctor of this iteration of Doctor Who.
Yeah, after the 1 season of Eccleston, it was really the Tennant. Also, I mean, the Tennant episodes were, I think, much better written. There's been a lot of criticism of the Whittaker episodes, and really that since probably Tennant was the peak, Smith kind of maintained it, and it's kind of been a slow decline since then.
Super fair, yeah.
So I haven't watched any of them. I kind of fell out of Doctor Who with the middle of the Matt Smith run just because, for various reasons, there's just too much stuff to watch. But no, she did. I mean, it was a big deal. First female Doctor. We'll see who they go with next.
Right.
There's been a lot of talk of different actors for representation, different people of color, or even, of course, the long-running Doctor Who joke that they might finally get someone with red hair to play the Doctor.
They won't.
So that would be funny.
So the show was written by Stephen Moffat. For through the Matt Smith episodes, he might have had a few episodes with what's his name. But I mean, look, this integration, this version of Doctor Who peaked with, in my opinion, the Day of the Doctor. In terms of the overall production, that's nothing against Jodie Whittaker at all. When they had William Hurt come in and they did the War Doctor story for the 50th anniversary, that was a really well done film, for lack of a better word. And Jodie Whittaker did great as the Doctor, but this is about the time they switch up, and the show continues. Been on the TV now for a while,
I mean, Doctor Who's one of the. I mean, if you go back to the originals, one of the longest running TV shows of all.
Even since the start of this version of it, I think now it's longer than the original Doctor Who, if I'm not mistaken.
It's up there. It's been like 50. I think it's been 15 years.
So they're doing a great job with that, and we'll see where they go. Of course, it's one of the most brilliant marketing things of all time. That every time they switch a Doctor, the show gets new life. It is one of the greatest.
It gets a shot in the arm. Yeah,
right. It's amazing to me. It's kind of like how Quantum Leap did really well, where it's like you had a new character every episode, but you get the same character. Right. It's amazing how they've continued this. It's by far the best thing that comes out of England in terms of television, in my opinion.
I mean, England's had a lot of great TV historically.
Right, Blackadder.
But I think currently, I mean, there's some folks who will, I'm sure, argue. What is it? Orphan Black, I think, was there for a while.
Was that theirs? Yeah, I mean, that's not on the same level as Doctor Who. So
no, for sure. But
BBC,
the English do pretty good television as well.
Right.
For sure. But no, that was interesting.
It's not. Everybody, I love you, UK. I know we have UK listeners. I love.
No, the UK is great. I spent a month there myself. Back when you were there, actually.
I know, we got together.
Yes. Yeah. So that was a lot of fun.
We were friends there too.
Yes.
We were mates. We were mates while we were there. Now we're friends again.
But you know what's not good? Wonder Woman 84.
No.
We're briefly just going to touch on this because it basically came out this week that the new guard, again, Warner Brothers has gone through a lot of changes since AT&T's been there. They let go of a lot of people. They let go of a third of the people at DC, a third plus actually at this point. But that a lot of the new guard of folks who were in charge of the movies at Warner Brothers did not want Wonder Woman 84 to go out in its current form. Then they had two major gripes that we talked about here on the show last week. With
interesting
that it did not need two opening scenes. They went to Patty Jenkins. They said choose either the Themyscira one or choose them all. Right. You can't have both. Patty Jenkins fought, and again, this also goes to the fact that under Jeff Johns' leadership, and I put that in air quotes because really he wasn't a leader and he sucked. He let the directors and writers have way too much control. And again, that's what happens sometimes when you have a creative guy who's not a leader, who's just a creative. He gave the creatives too much reign, and Patty Jenkins again. And we thought one of the biggest problems with the movie was the first 10 minutes, that the Themyscira scene was absolutely unnecessary, and it set a bad tone for the film.
I personally don't want to say it was unnecessary. I will say we didn't need both. So because I think they were both kind of held their own in a way.
They were well shot,
but we didn't need them both,
and all that.
And it makes you wonder, like, and they did this. They did this anyway. Now that I'm thinking about it, rethink how you're doing these things. It would have made so much more sense. Like, just release the first intro separately as a teaser for the film, which they did. They did that. They released like the first 8 or 9 minutes of the film. They should have just let that out.
That opening 10 minutes was a standalone short.
Why didn't they? That's what they should have done. They should have released it as a short to escort you in the movie. Because I'll tell you right now, from watching that opening, it wouldn't have deterred me from watching the movie.
No, exactly. And again, the movie we said this again, was very long. That's an easy way to cut 10 minutes out of a very long movie.
Now, here's a question for you, Ray. I think I know the answer, but let's say they do cut that out. Or let's just say, actually, we'll take the most optimistic approach. They do release that as a short, get you kind of excited. Then they shorten the movie by 10 minutes. Would you still have hated it as much?
I mean, I still wouldn't have liked it for sure, but I mean, it would have been. It's less things to detract from the film overall, right? Like, it would have definitely moved up a little bit. I mean, again, it was long by 40 minutes. You get rid of 10 of those, that's a big deal, and you get rid of a scene that's unnecessary. Right. The other complaint that came out that Warner Brothers had was they wanted Patty Jenkins to redo the ending. They didn't like the ending. They didn't think it made sense. But of course, with Jenkins trying to get this symmetry, right, from the speech at the end, from the speech at the beginning in Themyscira, she felt it needed to be in there. They wanted a more cohesive, a less talk, less preachy kind of ending, Warner Brothers. And actually, on this regard, again, I think we kind of agree that I think that the ending kind of fell a little flat, very anticlimactic compared to the rest of the film, where, again, the White House fight scene was the best scene in the film, and then you had another 40 minutes of film after that. So,
this is what I'll say. Kind of closing thoughts on this film. That, and I'll preface it with this. We have to remember that this was done before kind of the current trajectory of DC was formed. Okay, so this is an older, it sounds weird to say.
The old guard.
Guard DC film with the other films that were not up to par. But this is what I will say. I think we love Gal Gadot enough. I think we love the characters enough that everyone is willing to give this one more shot, especially knowing that they're going in a different direction. So we know they're making Wonder Woman 3, which I said this. We don't know if that's a sequel to this. That's probably going to be much more involved with whatever they're planning with Snyder Cut and Flash and all those films that they're making now. But I think that I really love Gal Gadot as Wonder Woman. I really do. I mean, she just totally fits the role.
Oh, yeah, she's terrific.
I think that most people, and obviously those of you listening, let us know, are willing to give them one more shot with Wonder Woman before we go, all right, this is not working. Right. Because again,
the first one was good enough that they deserve one more chance.
It was very good. In fact, I went back and thought about this afterwards. I didn't hate Wonder Woman 84 like other people did. It was exactly what I expected. I can't say that enough. I expected this. Right. And Ray, I think we spoke about that before. Like, I think I made my thoughts known on that. I'm not saying that.
Yes, you did. Yeah, you did call a lot of stuff.
All right. Yeah. And I'm not saying that as in I told you so. I'm just saying that as like, I don't want people thinking in retrospect I'm trying to be soft. Okay. But it is not comparable to the first film. The first film is really well done. It is definitely top 2 of the DC films. Right. Yep. And everybody's ranking this at the bottom. My bottom is Batman versus Superman. That was
for sure. Oh, for sure. This was still more enjoyable than that. Like,
so. Anyway, moving on. We said we weren't going to talk about it too long.
Yeah, no, we're not going to stay with it. But speaking of, obviously, they're talking about how this is one of the big nails in the coffin for the movie industry. In terms of the movie theaters, I should say, not movie industry, movie theaters.
Which is going to be reborn. It will rise from the ashes.
Yes. But what's interesting is a story that just came out of Cary, North Carolina, and you're actually starting to see this. This is happening. This, I think, is actually brilliant. Epic Games, who, of course, one of the biggest game developers out there, of course, Unreal Engine, Fortnite, of course, they're the guys behind that. They are huge. The Epic Games store is doing really, really well for them. They are buying out basically a floundering shopping mall in Cary, North Carolina, and they're going to turn that into their new Cary, North Carolina campus. And I think... First off, I think this is a great thing because it's taking something that is failing. Like, I think even a lot of folks in Cary, North Carolina, while they're sad to see a lot of the retail shops go, a lot of those places, particularly in the pandemic, are going. I know a friend of mine quickly made the joke. It's like, oh, where's QA? Oh, it's at the Bed Bath & Beyond. But
it's at the Boscov's. Yeah,
right. A lot of these brick and mortar shops, especially the big chains, unless you're like Walmart or Target or whatever, you're not being able to survive against Amazon and the really big chains like Target and Walmart. The parent
company, the new parent companies of America.
Right. So this is an interesting way to repurpose a facility that probably was on its last legs anyway, that a lot of these shops weren't doing what they were supposed to do. And I think that Epic coming in and saving and bringing jobs to a community.
Saving money is a big part of it too, to be fair. Build infrastructure.
I think it's a big deal. I think you're going to start seeing this more often as you have more abandoned movie theaters and abandoned big box stores, and you're going to start seeing other companies and things that are still viable in the changing world come in to save these areas.
Right. There's a great conversation I was seeing the other day about when things do start to go back to normal, people are probably going to be working remotely a lot more. So what's going to happen with all this office space? Well, you're seeing it. People are innovating. Look, I'm not saying every space will be filled, but there's so much you can do with space. I mean, you could literally make homes for the homeless if you really needed to. So like I said, I think this is a great move. It's also interesting to see, and this is something we're going to be, I know we will talk about in the future, businesses moving out of major cities where they have high rent and horrible business laws and poor leadership, if I may, in my opinion.
Los Angeles. Yep.
Yeah, New York City right now too, in my opinion. All right.
Yep.
They're moving to North Carolina. They're moving to Texas. They're moving to places that are open for business.
Georgia, Tennessee, Kansas. I've seen it all. I've seen a lot.
Again, this is actually not new. This is how these things work. They bounce out, and eventually when the cities figure their things out, they'll bounce back. But this is how you make new centers. This is how you make new cultural centers. As Ray say, massive boost to the economy down there. Right? And again, for those of you who hate big businesses, and there are people out there, this is how they can help. All right?
Yeah.
If we just focus on tax dollars, which I'm not saying we shouldn't, and how much tax money you're paying, creating jobs, you're creating infrastructure, you're creating a place for people to be. That's one of the great backbones of American industry, which has plenty of faults. All right.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not trying to get around that.
Nothing's perfect.
Yeah, right. And like, that's where labor law comes in, which I'm not going to bore you all with right now. Again, that's another thing.
We have opinions on all that stuff.
Right. But I'm saying it's a cool move. It's the right thing to do. It shows you an innovative approach.
Yeah.
All right. To something that needs to be innovated. Right. And I think we're going to see a lot of innovation towards the second half of this year. In 2022, I think the American experience is going to change for the better. That's barring that aliens don't show up out of nowhere, which I just gotta say this real quick. I've seen more talk of aliens showing up in the last 3 months than I've ever seen in my life. Like, they're hinting, like they're real, they're coming.
I know there was that guy from Israel or something that said he's worked with the CIA and says aliens are real.
A guy from Harvard yesterday was talking about listen, here's the deal. I'm all for aliens. Do we really need to add that to our plate right now? Can we at least get out of the pandemic before the aliens show up? If I'm going to have to fight an intergalactic war, which I hope they're peaceful, I don't really want to do that right now. In fact, I don't want to do that at all. Right?
Yeah.
Like, you know what I thought aliens was going to be, Ray? It was like, hey, we found microorganisms on another planet, and they're little.
Well, I mean that we know. I mean that there is that. There's microorganisms on Mars and stuff like that.
That's an alien. Like that.
Right.
Let it be that. Like, I don't really want to. I don't think I can handle this right now.
Another sentient species that's going to come visit us.
Like, I can't handle that right now. Yeah, I don't want to do that right now.
Well, I mean, supposedly, according to all these guys, that's the reason why they haven't contacted us yet. We're not ready for it.
That's
so
fine
thank
with
you
me.
for
That's
for
fine.
that.
Leave us alone. We got some stuff to figure out here. Come back in 5,000 to 6,000 years, and we'll still be the same probably. But that's not the point. I don't want to deal with aliens right now.
Yeah, not right now, but you guys can come back in 5 years. Anyway.
5 years? 5,000 years?
No, come on. I want to see that. I'm ready for the aliens. I'm ready for it.
All right, listen. I believe you.
Welcome to Earth.
Anyway.
Well,
goodbye. Yeah. Right?
Yeah, it's, anyway,
is that the Will Smith impression? That's what I call a close encounter.
It wasn't really an impression, just doing the line.
I can't wait. Yeah. I hope aliens show up and they're just nothing like we thought. Just nothing like that.
Well, I mean, there's a very high likelihood of that. Right. But anyway,
watch your back.
Moving on off of we'll put the tinfoil hats away for next week. Something we very briefly wanted to mention. We talked about it on last week's show. The tragic passing of John Huber at 41 years old, AEW WWE wrestler. We recorded last week before the AEW tribute show. I just want to give credit to AEW for doing an amazing job of paying tribute to him, throwing out their script for the week's show, doing matches in honor of him, featuring John's Brody Lee's 8-year-old son, Brody Lee Jr. Just doing a really great job of really paying tribute to what everybody believed was an amazing wrestler. Bringing in his old tag team partner, Eric Rowan from WWE, officially having him. Looks like he's officially on board with AEW now. Coming in there, they did it right, and Tony Khan, who to me seems like the anti-Vince McMahon at this point, came out, said some really touching words, along with a lot of other wrestlers. Wrestlers were breaking down after matches, a lot of tears. It was just a really sweet 2 hours, and it was just a brief. Wanted to briefly touch on how good a job AEW did paying tribute to a great wrestler and a really great guy in the wrestling industry. So, speaking of throwing out your script, the NFL moving into sports now.
Oh boy!
Wow,
this
folks,
is going
we got
to
a lot to talk about with football.
This is going to be a segment. This is going to be our show.
There was some great things, some great stories that came out of Week 17. The Browns barely hold off the Steelers' backups to get to the playoffs for the first time in 18 years. They now play Pittsburgh again next week in Pittsburgh.
If I may, there was a moment I wanted to touch on in that game, and I suggest you all take a peek at this if you can. Look at Baker Mayfield when they clinched. This clearly meant so much to him. Again, we get lost in the commercials and like the Browns being the Browns. This meant so much to Baker Mayfield. And
Dude wants to win.
Yeah, and I just think that's cool to see him show up to one of the worst teams in NFL history, and now they're in the playoffs. And again, like, they didn't need to be a Super Bowl champion. This was the next milestone. Meant a lot to him. I just thought that was cool. It was endearing to me as a coach to him as an athlete.
Yeah, no, I think it was a great moment. I mean, again, like Cleveland, they almost blew it. I mean, you give credit. Pittsburgh, we're going to get into this a little bit later. Pittsburgh consciously chose a lot of their backups. There are people who are calling out like, oh, but the integrity of the game. Pittsburgh doesn't have a bye, but they planned from the beginning that they were going to start their backups. Their backups were well prepared. They had a gameplay built around their backups.
Right.
And again, they almost still beat the Cleveland starters, who, of course, Cleveland is still recovering from COVID. It's been some guys. It's been a crazy year in regards to that.
Right.
But credit where it's due. A win's a win. Mason Rudolph came out, played very well for Pittsburgh. He's a very capable backup. He's Big Ben's regular backup. So that's a.
I like how you're setting this up for later in the conversation.
Oh yeah, because that was the people's one argument yesterday.
You got your abacus. Like, let me just make this even real quick.
But also a couple of records. Derrick Henry, I believe the 8th ever season with 2,000 yards rushing, which is especially something nowadays in a pass-happy league. He finished with 2,027 yards.
And this season, to be fair.
In this season, he absolutely dominated. He ran for 250 yards yesterday. He was actually the second. There were two guys who ran for 250 yards yesterday. Also, Indianapolis on the way to punching their ticket to the 7 seed.
A couple people won their fantasy league because of that yesterday.
Exactly. There was some big deals. The Dolphins on the outside looking in with 10 wins, the latest team with a 10-win season, not to make the playoffs. AFC stacked was this year. Jefferson over in Minnesota sets the rookie record for receiving yards. Congratulations to him. Minnesota in a shootout, they finished 7-9 as they beat up on the Lions.
These are all people really rising to the occasion in a really tough scenario this year. Games getting changed, COVID. So I want to, again, there's a lot of people that will take the opposite approach to some of these, Ray, that it's like, oh, well, it's because of that. They had it. No, this is rising to the occasion. And really what makes athletics something spectacular to me. It's phenomenal.
Yeah. Mike Evans down in Tampa, up and down year with Tom Brady, trying to get on the same page with him, but he finished with just under 50 yards before he tweaked his knee, unfortunately, on his last catch. But that last catch put him over 1,000 yards for the year. He's amazingly the first man in NFL history to start his NFL career with 7 straight 1,000-yard receiving seasons. Wow. He finished with 1,006.
That's consistency.
So he's questionable for the Tampa Bay playoff game next week. We'll get into that in a bit. Also, big announcement, the NFL on Nickelodeon. This was a fun story that came out last week. Want to talk about that?
Can I just Nick, NFL football?
Yeah, they are. That was very well done. They're very well done. But
just made it up now. Yeah.
In an attempt to reach new audiences, the NFL is putting the Chicago Bears, who even in a losing effort, because Arizona, once Kyler Murray got hurt, they were basically done. Arizona lost to the Rams yesterday, so the Rams get the 6th seed. The Bears get the 7 by default, as they lost to the Packers, who are now the 1 seed. The Bears will go down to New Orleans. That game will be broadcast on Nickelodeon with special graphics, correspondence, and I heard SpongeBob's going to make a halftime appearance.
Dude, all I can hear in my head is like Eminem. Like, hi, kids. Do you like violence? Do you want to see Tom Brady score 9 touchdowns on the Giants? Which doesn't work now, but it rhymed.
Yeah. But yeah, no. So that was. But no, I think actually it's a great idea. But NFL
Tom Brady.
Actually,
Come on, it's too easy. Chicken Tom Brady. My name is. Sorry.
Rob Gronkowski. My name is Rob Gronkowski.
Rob Gronkowski. Aye.
Yeah, but I think. Oh, hello there, boys. What a halftime score.
Can you imagine that? I don't like Joe Buck.
Patrick, are you a Saints fan or a Bears fan?
I like Gronkowski.
Go Lions. But they're not playing, Patrick. Go Lions. Anyway.
God, we need to do a whole separate show with this now.
Yeah. No, that's...
Where's Bill Belichek?
Yeah. Oh, man. It's I think it's a great idea by the NFL to do this to try and reach a younger audience.
It's cool.
To try and,
It'll be interesting. Because if it works, they're going to do it with other sports, too.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, and of course, it's still going to be. I think it's still going to be broadcast on ABC or whatever. I don't know what the other channel is.
You know what, Ray? This is something interesting. There's a few things interesting about this. It's interesting that it's football doing this first with their concussion protocol because they are really hurting at the youth level right now, which is probably why they're doing this, right?
Yes.
That's number one. Number two, though, there is a good message here about getting your kids outside to play sports. All right, because enrollment's kind of down across the board on all sports. So I think the fact that they're going right to the source. I mean, I don't know how many kids actually watch Nickelodeon live on TV anymore, to be fair. Right. But they're going to the source. It might be a pretty innovative and brilliant move. You typically see the NFL do innovative things like this.
Yeah.
Right. So it'll be interesting to see it. I want to know when the NHL is going to be coming to Nickelodeon and how they're going to explain fighting.
Yeah.
No, those are love fists of hatred. Why are they doing that? Oh, that's called judge, jury, and executioner, son, and it's a very, very efficient way to keep people in line. Can I go to school and do that? No, Johnny, no. You can't. I won't get 5 minutes for fighting. You'll get detention and kicked out of school. Oh.
Yeah.
Oh,
no,
sorry,
I don't know.
sorry, SpongeBob.
It's and also I wonder if the NFL will talk to the Saints and Bears beforehand, because I think those two teams also had
they won't say a
kerfuffle earlier in the year and be like, guys, try and keep it clean today.
They will not say a thing to them. That would be really funny if they did. Like, well, I was going to hit him, the quarterback, but we're on Nickelodeon today.
Yeah.
Right? It's roughing the passer. I didn't touch him.
That is the thing I worry about if there's like a gruesome injury or anything. Like Alex Smith injury.
That's the risk you run, right?
Yep. It's going to be interesting to see what happens. But NFL rolling the dice on Nickelodeon, trying to expand that audience.
Once again, Nick, NFL football.
Yeah, so it's a fun story. It's gonna be interesting to see what happens there. I'm curious to see what the ratings are there on Nickelodeon. But a lot of interesting stories came out of the NFL this week. Russell Okung, Russell Okung,
whatever, man. He made a brilliant move.
He is getting half his salary in Bitcoin from the Carolina Panthers.
Here's the real question about this. It's when was he paid the Bitcoin? Because if he got paid at the beginning of the season, he is rich as hell right now. Because Bitcoin is exploding. It's at its all-time high. All-time high, right? It's never been higher. Again, the Bitcoin market, super volatile. But even the small amount of Bitcoin that I did have is worth a little bit right now. All right? I'm not rolling in it. But I'm just saying that, like, if he got that throughout the season, this is one of the smartest moves in the history of pay. I'm not going to lie to you.
Yeah,
right?
I mean cryptocurrency is becoming the next big thing, obviously, as
very volatile though. I can't if any of you invest.
Yes,
it's very volatile.
It's very volatile, but this was depending on when he got paid, again, it is a big deal to get half his NFL salary this year in Bitcoin.
Let me put it this way.
It's also an interesting way because it shows that he's thinking of a career potentially after football.
Right.
Because a lot of these guys, we talk about this a lot. A lot of these guys blow their money, and in 10 to 15 years after they're, if not sooner, they're destitute again. So it's. I
can't do the equation right now, but I'm telling you this right now: if he got paid $1 million, which is probably more than that in Bitcoin, like at the start of the season, I mean it's probably 30 or 40% worth what it was up from that time. So smart decision on his part. And then like I said. I wouldn't do this all the time. It just worked out this time because it could have gone the other way. I mean,
for sure.
That's the Bitcoin market for those of you in cryptocurrency. Super volatile. It is definitely like going to a casino, unlike the actual market. But that's the topic for our new show, Geeks Who Like Financial Institutions and Money, debuting on CNBC March 2029. We'll see you there.
See you there. I could get paid. I like money. I like money.
Me too. We should talk after the show.
Yeah.
Listen. I'm just gonna drop a pearl for everybody. Just a quick pearl. I really mean this. I'm being serious right now. The key to money and making money is to make money work for you. That's my diamond of the day in the rough for you today.
Yep. So there you go. Good wise words. Other big thing.
Also, Ray. Sorry. Don't eat yellow snow. Say no.
That one I've known for a long time.
You never know, Ray.
You never know. But there's a couple other big stories in the NFL. Something we wanted to talk about last week. Before we get to the big story of the day.
But the big story tonight on Action News.
Because I've got a lot to say, so I'm saving it. We're going to end for the end of football segment with it. But first, the Patriots went 7-9. They missed the playoffs. Cam Newton is probably done as an NFL quarterback.
He is out of New England. It being reported everywhere, by the way. I saw that
Cam
this
Newton's
morning.
done, that he's not there.
I got to say, it's unconfirmed reports, but there's too many of them for me not to say it, that he is not going to be there next year.
Yeah. They signed a 1-year deal. They tried it. It didn't work.
It didn't. It just didn't work. It's that simple. Sorry.
And,
I don't want to overanalyze it.
Yeah, I mean, part of it, he didn't have a lot of weapons, but also I saw some Patriots games this year, folks. Cam, he can't throw at the NFL level anymore. He missed. I mean, look, I'm not like minimal hyperbole here. He missed throws that I think I could have made. Like it was bad. It looked really bad sometimes. Like it was a shame. And where he was a few years ago in Carolina to where he is now, that is a rapid decline. Look, and it is sad to see.
This is what I'll say about where he was. There were a lot of people that picked the Patriots to go to the Super Bowl with him there this year. At least go farther than the playoffs, and it did not play out that way, obviously, at all. Nope. So just goes to show that, once again, the quarterback is a very important position, but it's not everything. And if I may, Ray, bring this may I transition to this, if that's okay with you? We did want to talk about Belichek and Brady, because it is a conversation that will actually live on through time, and it's not done yet. I will say this. I predicted at the beginning of the season that Belichick would be more successful than Brady this season, and I was wrong. Yeah. And keeping in mind, I'm not anti-Brady. I also said that too, that I want him to succeed. I'm not an anti-Brady guy. But the question was, is Belichick a better coach than Brady is a quarterback? And I will say this. This is not the end of that debate. This season, Brady absolutely dominated the debate. But it's going to be interesting to see what Belichick does in the years to come. Now, I personally thought Belichick would leave New England when Brady did. And it didn't happen. So this is what I'll say. There's no denying their legacies. It's just very interesting that Belichick could not get the quarterback position to fire for him this year. And an average Patriots team, they weren't above average in any way this year. Like
they
were
7-9. You are what your record says you are. You know, they had a decent defense, but not a lot of. There's not a lot of weapons on offense. But also Cam. There were some games they could have won if Cam had played at a better level, at a higher level, honestly.
Right. And this is what I'll say is that, the Patriots underperforming this year heavily. I will give all the credit to Tom Brady and the entire Tampa Bay Buccaneers team this year for what was a phenomenal season. Brady had a plan. The Buccaneers had a plan. They executed it, and they got themselves to the playoffs. And again, we don't even make this a long statement. Just this year, Brady really showed that it wasn't just Belichick the reason he was winning. It was he is the best quarterback in the history of the NFL for a reason. Yeah. Belichick is the best coach, and I do believe that he will turn that Patriots team around, or any team that he's at. I mean, how much of a shocker would it be if he didn't come back to the Patriots?
No, obviously Belichick's going to be there for at least a couple more years.
I think so too.
He doesn't want this to be his swan song.
No, and he wants to win. I think he wants to see what he can do with a different quarterback. All right, we don't know if they were clashing, him and Cam, but they were not on the same page. That was
clearly not.
Right.
Cam was not fitting into the system whatsoever, and I think that I think it's gonna be interesting to see what happens going forward. I mean, and also be fair, Brady had a lot of weapons down in Tampa that he didn't have in the past few years in New England.
But it's his age for me. And again, like I said, I agree with you, Ray. I mean, there's no denying what you're saying. But Brady's age and the level at which he's performing, that is what is amazing to me. Even with the weapons that he has, it's truly amazing.
He was making throws he was still making 6-7 years ago. He had the best season this year that he's had since the year they went 18-1 and lost to the Giants in Super Bowl 42. He had 43 touchdowns this year.
It shows that this move was kind of exactly what he needed. Because he's playing better. Now, I don't know how far Tampa Bay is going to go in the postseason. They should have an easy first round matchup.
Yes. And that leads us to our final story of the day. Of course, the NFC East was the 4th seed in the NFC was the last thing decided, where the Giants came out. They beat the Cowboys 23-19. It's something we've been saying all year long. The Giants' defense is a top 10 defense
easily
in the league.
Agree 100%.
They finish, actually, if you're looking at just points forced, 9th least points forced, so the 9th overall defense in terms of points forced, or points allowed, I should say. Points allowed. They kept the Cowboys, a Cowboy team that was clicking on all cylinders coming into this game offensively. They hounded Dalton. They held Zeke to, I think, under 50 yards, which I think kept him from getting a 1,000-yard season. I think the Giants did a great job defensively. And as a Giants fan, I'm going to say this. The Giants defense, all the starters, are locked up for at least 3 more years. All of them. They locked up Logan Ryan, the safety, the last one, and a lot of them are under a rookie contract. So as a Giants fan, I am very hopeful for the future for the first time I have been in a couple
Built from good drafting, too.
Yeah, I mean, the Giants' offense did everything it could to give that game to Dallas. Daniel Jones, the turnovers weren't all his fault. Evan Engram is the most overrated tight end in the NFL. He had a ton of drops this year, including 2 more yesterday against Dallas. He had a lot against Philly, and again, that the first time we played Philly, that we lost by 1 point, a game that obviously haunted us as we missed the playoffs. We're gonna get into that in a second. I still don't believe Daniel Jones is the solution at quarterback. I really don't. I think he is a high-level backup.
Yeah.
Getting Barkley back next year, and hopefully Barkley can be healthy, will be a big deal.
I was just gonna say, Ray, if you guys had Saquon Barkley all year, you would have won the NFC East. I believe that.
I think that's true too. But to be fair, I think Wayne Gallman also proved that he's a viable backup in the NFL, a spell back for Barkley.
Sure. Yeah, I just think some of those close games you lost, you would have had that extra touchdown, at least one of them. That's all you needed.
No, for sure.
So I just think you would have won with Saquon. But the whole NFC East with injuries this year is a weird scenario.
For sure. The Giants broke like 3 guys' legs this year.
If Dak Prescott's there, the Cowboys win the division.
There's
exactly. A lot
if Dak Prescott is the starting quarterback for the Cowboys, I have no doubt in my mind Dallas.
If Nick Foles was here, the Eagles would have been undefeated. So it's
I don't know about that, but they
undefeated.
We're going to get into that in a second. But yeah, I think the Giants need to. I also want to say this: the Giants' offensive line really came together. As the season went along.
Even the announcers recognized that in the last game. They talked about the maturation of the Giants' O-line, which was the big question mark coming into the season. Yeah,
I was super down on them, but I'm gonna say this: you also can see the guys that we don't need. Cut Golden Tate, cut Nate Solder. I get that he didn't want to play this year, and I get it. He's immunocompromised because he overcame cancer and all that stuff. And best of luck to him. But clearly, Thomas is the future at left tackle. They drafted him in the 4 pick last year, and he, from game 1 to game 16, really came on as a rookie at left tackle, even though they thought he was going to be the right tackle. So you don't need Solder. Clear up the cap space. The Giants need a number 1 receiver. Shepard and Slayton are still to me a 2-3. Neither one of them is a number 1. You need a number 1 receiver. Evan Engram sucks. You need a tight end. And I still don't know if Jones did progress as the season went on, but not a lot. He still has a problem with turnovers. He still has a problem with making the big throws. He still wilts under pressure.
Let me ask you a question. I'm going to ask you a very controversial question.
Yeah.
That I don't think is going to happen, but I have to actually ask you. Would you take Carson Wentz to be your quarterback?
Yes.
Because it's possible.
I will say this.
Yeah.
It's
improbable.
We're gonna get into it where it is official now. It sounds like that Wentz did ask for a trade.
Yeah, we'll talk about it.
Yeah, we're gonna talk. I heard a report from ESPN saying that he did officially ask for a trade. So I don't know. Again, we don't know the full things about that, but
nothing's official with those. But yeah,
if he's going to be traded, he's not going to be traded to the Giants. The Giants actually have a better chance of getting Dak Prescott because I don't think he wants to re-sign with Dallas.
Right.
After the way they treated him, they franchise tagged him this year. Then obviously the injury. I could definitely see Dak coming to the Giants and suddenly the Giants being a contender instantly.
Nobody wants that though. The Giants being a contender.
I'm smiling really big for those of you who can't watch, but who aren't watching.
The G-Man!
The G-Man!
Oh, God, I was
super excited. I mean, look, as disappointed as I am that we didn't win the division, it's good for the NFL that a 6-10 team did not win the division.
I agree.
And
I'm going to have a word for some Giants fans in this next section because I will not go easy on my team, but Giants fans were not top form last night. That's what I'll say.
And to be fair, also, look, the Giants should have beat the Eagles twice. They should have beat Dallas twice.
Right.
They should have beat Tampa. They should have beat the Chicago Bears.
Right.
And again, that's also why I don't know if Daniel Jones is the answer.
Do not blame the Eagles for you not being in the playoffs.
Right.
That is completely short-sighted.
That said,
right. We'll get into it now.
That said, Washington beat the Eagles to win the division with a 7-9 record, third time NFL history. A subpar team has won a sub 500 team has won the division. They won 20-14 in what was an ugly game. Honestly, even with Alex Smith coming back for Washington, it was an ugly game. Credit to the Eagles defense, who was down a lot of starters.
Defense played great. Eagles defense played great.
Your defensive coordinator
who's leaving
came out and said, "I don't want that team celebrating on our field their division title," and the defense played like that.
Right.
Honestly, there was a couple plays. There was one play at the end there where if your guy came this close to scooping and scoring and stealing that game from Washington.
But sorry, I am cutting you off before we jump into this because I don't want to forget to do it later, and this is how we are. Congratulations to the Washington football team on winning the NFC East. A lot of storylines there, from Ron Rivera having and overcoming cancer to Alex Smith coming back to play quarterback. To not having a name this season and having all that identity crisis. I joke throughout the season that their identity is not having an identity, right? But look, congratulations. They are the team that deserves to win the division. I'm going to say that right now. When you look at the whole thing played out, the right team has won the NFC East. And what I did love at the end of that game was one of the Washington football team players saying, "We want Brady. We want Brady." That's what I want to see. All right, so we'll see what happens.
It'll be interesting. Tampa has to go to Washington next week.
Congratulations to TWF, not WTF. The Washington football team. Whatever it is, congratulations. Get a name.
Yeah, Washington football team. And we'll also get it. Also, by the way, next year will be very interesting because the NFL also announced they are officially having a 17-game regular season next year.
Right.
Which means that basically they're adding one more interconference game. So that's a lot of fun. Wanted to just get that done.
Side note, real quick. We talked about this. Can you imagine if the Washington football team somehow gets the Super Bowl and plays the Chiefs with that naming controversy? That would be unbelievable. But we will not get to see that. So
I do not think we'll get to see that either. But
let's get into it, man. Let's do it.
The Eagles, it was your coach Peterson made a very questionable and controversial decision.
Right.
With about 10 minutes. So first off, I'm not gonna fault him for going for it on 4th and goal at the 4 to try and get the win with Hurts. A lot of people were immediately like, "Why didn't you take the points there?" And I'm like, and I get that, but Peterson has a history of doing that.
The Eagles have a history of going for it on 4th down. That's nothing new.
I didn't like it. I don't like it. I didn't like it when the Giants did it against the Browns a couple weeks ago. I don't like that personally.
Sure.
But
we have nothing to lose in that game. I mean, there's a lot of ways to look at that.
So I get that. I get that. So get off the play calling there at the end. Get that.
Right. That's not what you should be upset about.
Right. A lot of people's problem was that after that drive, with 10 minutes left in the game,
right,
he pulls Hurts for
Nate Sudfeld.
Nate Sudfeld.
Now, Ray, but for our audience, okay, I think this is really important. We have to set this up right, okay? I will be approaching this segment as a coach / someone who's worked in team operations, not as an Eagles fan, okay? If I speak to fandom, I will say it, okay? And Ray, I think it's important that we denote that you're not approaching this so much as a Giants fan either. It's more of a football fan, right? Is that fair?
Yeah, more of an analysis, yeah.
Right. Okay, I think that's important because, again, a lot of Giants fans last night, do not come to me with sympathy or being upset that you didn't make the playoffs because the Eagles didn't win. That's not why the Giants missed the playoffs. You missed the playoffs because you didn't win enough games.
We're 6-10.
Right. That's why you missed the playoffs. So you can hate the Eagles all you want. There's nothing wrong with that. But do not blame the Eagles for your coming short on making the playoffs. That's BS. That's completely unaccountable. You had every opportunity to win the division as well, right? The fact that it was in our hands, and I told Ray this. Ray and I had a conversation about this, that it was not a good thing that it was in the Eagles' hands, that your playoffs hopes were in the hands. So don't blame the Eagles for not making playoffs. Look at your own team. This has always been the problem with New York teams. They're never accountable for themselves.
And I also legit don't believe that Peterson did that just to screw over the Giants.
Right.
I can't believe that. Like an NFL, like the rivalry is there for sure, but I can't imagine a coach doing that just to screw over another team. The question with the controversy is that for a lot of this Eagles team, a lot of that core that won the Super Bowl a couple years ago, a lot of these guys are leaving. Ertz is probably not coming back. There's talks about Kelsey
might be retiring.
And some of the offense. Yeah. Some of the offensive line. Again, we talked about we're going to get into the Wentz controversy. Supposedly he wants to trade. A lot of these guys are going. And actually, I mean, there was even a thing where Kelsey, Wentz, and Ertz all were on the field in the rain together hours after the game was over.
1:30 in the morning.
Just talking. And so there were some guys on that team, it was clear, not happy with the decision on the sideline. Kelsey
wasn't
included.
Happy.
That and they, and Hurts was not happy either. You got that in the press conference. It very much felt like when the Jets defensive players a couple weeks ago said, "Yeah, we called the plays what the coaches called."
Right.
Like, you could tell that Hurts was not happy about being benched for Sudfeld in a game that they felt they could still win. And honestly, they could. It was 17-14 with 10 minutes left in the fourth quarter. It feels like, from an outsider looking in, that there's some turmoil in Philadelphia. Even the broadcasters, even Chris Collinsworth and Al Michaels were hypercritical of Peterson doing that. Because, again, Sudfeld's a guy who has only dressed twice this year, the last time back in week 1. And I get that he's a guy who kind of got robbed of his snaps and play opportunities and whatever over the course because of his own injuries. But it really felt like, to a lot of people, and again, I've had Vikings fans, I've had Bears fans, I've had people without skin in the game. We actually had a couple of comments from folks. I put the bronze medal meme on our Facebook group if you haven't seen it, which is funny, which is all the teams ahead of Washington that are now ahead. And people commenting that in other Philly fans that it looked like a very blatant tanking attempt. And if that's the case, and again, this is different from Pittsburgh starting their backups in a game that for them really didn't mean anything. This really felt like we have a chance to win this game, and we're not going to win this game now because it'll give us three better spots in the draft next year. It felt weird. It felt like a weird call. If you were going to start, if Sudfeld started the second half or something, I could see that. Again, your team not playing for anything. You're a team that really just playing for pride. And a lot of those guys were playing for pride because, again, a lot of them aren't going to be there next year.
Right.
And also you could also tell the disgust with Sudfeld. They showed replays of the offensive tackles literally just literally not even touching Chase Young, and it looked very on purpose to have him a clear path to Sudfeld because it felt like Peterson gave up, and when Peterson gave up, the team gave up, and it really turned into very ugly football the last 10 minutes of that game.
Sure.
I mean, it's. I don't know. It's, again, you don't owe the Giants anything. I'm not here talking about the Giants or as a Giants fan.
We're talking about the Eagles right now.
I'm talking about the Philadelphia Eagles as a team that looks like they're in turmoil because now.
Well, they are a team in turmoil. Like again, look. Let me break this down. Okay. I will start with this. It is very weird. What happened last night is very weird. I'm not going to sit here and defend the Eagles. I am going to try and break down the situation. Remember, I'm not approaching this as an Eagles fan. I think that's really important for the listeners. And Ray will tell you that I'm perfectly capable of separating my fandom from the operational side. Okay, so it was weird. There's no doubt it was weird. I don't think the announcers helped it make any less weird. By the way, Al Michaels with a great line last night on the last drive. He goes, "If the Eagles win this game, I'm going to pull out a line I haven't said in 41 years." right? Referring to do you believe in miracles?
Yeah.
All right. Let's take a step back because here's the deal. There's a lot of emotion going into the analysis of this situation. One of the former Eagles said that he's I've never been more upset to be an Eagles person, but it's like, okay, let's calm down for a minute. Let's take a step back, right? Giants fans, no offense, but I'm not going to listen to any one of you that was blaming us for your missing the playoffs.
And again,
that's
not
analysis.
what I'm doing.
You're not.
Yeah.
I will back you up on that. Take a step back. Let's really analyze the situation, okay? I got to preface this one more time. Not saying anything was okay. I'm not trying to justify anything. I'm trying to break it down, okay? Yeah. It is very possible that Doug Peterson told Sudfeld, you were going to get in for the last 10 minutes of this game, and he just stuck to his plan. A lot of times we make the mistake of thinking that these guys watch television and read the articles and know all the storylines. These guys don't care what ESPN is saying about them, most likely, all right? So if he had a game plan to put Sudfeld in, what I look at is, okay, did you communicate that plan to the team? And how did you communicate it to the team? Or did you just promise Nate Sudfeld he'd get in and you put him in? Doug Peterson's the type of guy that would do that. right? The man of his word, right? Type deal, okay?
Right.
Then the cameras focus on Hurts and Wentz and controversy, and all of a sudden it becomes a bigger deal than it actually is. All right, so I think that's number one. I think that this might have been a plan from before the game. Doesn't look good when a team's playoff hopes is riding on it and we're in a position to win. I agree with you on that.
On a national televised game,
okay?
which also, by the way, I don't know why the NFL flexed this game into the
because they knew they flexed it because
the ratings. They knew that either
they
Dallas or New York
Northeast,
would be watching.
Yeah, they knew they have that Northeast rating and obviously Dallas. Okay.
Yeah.
And it was the only game that really mattered at the end of the day. There was no 4:15 games that really had any major.
Well, I mean, the thing is I think that you could have. I was talking. You could have done the Rams versus Cardinals, which was literally a play-in game. Whoever won that game got in the playoffs.
You're definitely not getting a bigger audience for that than the NFC.
No, I get that, but if you're talking just pure best football,
they wanted the New York audience. It's that simple. They wanted Manhattan. Like that's no other reason why they did that. All right.
Yep.
That's the first thing is he told Sudfeld he was going to play. Now, for those of you that might not be right to you, okay, let's continue to break it down. Ray keeps saying they're a team in turmoil. Of course they are. Of course they are. We have a clear quarterback controversy. We have several pieces of that Super Bowl team leaving, right? So isn't it fair to say that Jeff Lurie, Doug Peterson, who's losing his defensive coordinator, know that they are in a rebuilding phase? They know they're in a rebuilding phase, okay? So you have to keep in mind that they know this, right? Look, this is where the majesty of sports runs into the hammer of the business side of sports. Okay? Yeah. The honeymoon is over from the Super Bowl. It has been for a while. Okay? Now they're trying to put themselves in the best position to be a competitive football team next year. Doug Peterson, now Eagles fans, you're going to hate me for this, does not owe those guys a thing. Okay? The Eagles organization may. But Doug Peterson needs to be in a position to win. Now, this is where the conversation switched. Now we have to get into the bigger topic, which is what is the integrity of the game? Okay? Right. This is where it gets weird. Okay? One side of me goes, yeah, they threw that game. They get a better draft pick, and they put themselves in a position where they might not win. Another side of me also goes, no, this was the game plan from the beginning. It's being overblown by the media. Okay? Right. I cannot tell you which one of those is real. Most likely it's probably somewhere in the middle. Okay? Number two, all right? They're going to put themselves in the best position to be competitive next year. The organization knows, as I'm sure Doug Peterson does, who probably doesn't watch ESPN and watch the news, that he doesn't need to win or lose this game, number one. The season's over. They are already looking towards next year. Why is that so surprising to people? I don't understand. Right. Okay, and I really mean that, folks. I don't know why that's so surprising to anybody. The Eagles are not focused on the New York Giants at all in that game. Yeah. They're not. They don't care. They're probably not even focused on the Redskins, to be honest with you. All right? Yeah. They're focused on themselves, which is correct. Now, when it comes to the integrity, we will, and this is the problem, you will never know, ever. Right. We will never know
we'll debate
if there was a call that went, hey, throw this game. I believe that to be highly unlikely. It did not look good. I will give you that. As for Wentz, Ertz, and Kelsey on the sidelines, yeah, they're probably all going to be gone next year. They're probably all reflecting. It's a somber moment. The honeymoon's over. Okay? The Eagles are going to put themselves in a position to win. I have some reservation. This is the fan talking now, okay? With the entire league say, this is why Philadelphia is so horrible. This is why Philadelphia is the worst place
There are
in the
tons
world.
of other reasons why Philadelphia is horrible.
I agree with you, Ray. Okay, so give me a break, all right? Like you're not going to – Ray and I did talk about this last night.
Yeah.
I can't recall a team doing something like this, but it's happened. It's happened, okay? And here's why it's happened. Because there's rarely a situation where it's a nationally televised game where the New York Giants, of all teams, are banking on a team to win. That's why it's being overblown in my mind. Right. Okay? So again,
and also in Twitter, obviously all the Giants
took
to Twitter.
Not helping at all.
Yeah.
Right? So again, what I see here on a surface level is a weird situation. I'm not going to deny that looks bad, but probably has a whole other side to it that people aren't thinking about. Again, Ray, listen to me.
It made infinitely worse. Made infinitely worse by
I'm
going to
throw this to you. I'm going to throw this to you.
Yeah.
Okay? Keeping in mind what I said about the integrity of the game, which is important to me. Okay? You tell me why we shouldn't have gone and got that 6th draft pick over the 8th pick. You tell me why they shouldn't be trying to help themselves. And again, I mean this. Like I'm going to assume that they plan to put Sudfeld in. You do not have to agree with me on that. You tell me why they should not have put themselves in a position to not try super hard to win that game. And no offense, and this is going to be cold, hard reality for a lot of people listening to them. While I care about these players that brought us a Super Bowl, okay, that is not a reason not to try and get a better draft pick. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
All right? It's cold. It's heartless. It's also professional sports. Okay? Putting these veteran guys ahead of getting a better draft position, cold and hard, that's not the way it worked. And teams have lost majorly because of decisions like that in the past. So you tell me why the Eagles should not have put themselves in a position to get a better draft pick as long as they were not consciously throwing the game, which, again, we will never know. Right? You tell me why they should have put a playoff squad of players out there to try and win that game for the Giants. Give me a break. Anyway, Ray, I'm throwing that question to you. You tell me what. Try and logically explain that to me as an Eagles fan, why we shouldn't have tried to get a better draft position.
No, I mean, I completely understand. I mean, you could argue that it was dangerous for Sudfeld because he almost got killed several times.
He did.
Because
well,
again,
I could also make the argument that the Redskins were going to win that game no matter what, which is no one's talking about that. They're taking away credit from the Redskins.
Well, exactly. I mean, that's the thing is that there was no guarantee that if Hurts had stayed in there that.
Too much emotion.
That Philly was going to win.
Yeah, there's too much emotion.
Mind you, people forget Hurts had a bad game up to that point. He ran for 2 touchdowns, but throwing the ball, he had a bad game.
Yeah,
because again, also Washington is also a top 5 defense.
There is too much emotion surrounding the decision making from people who are not in the know, including me. I'm not in the locker room. I don't know what kind of conversations Doug. People, he lost the locker room. You know, he might be right, but that half of the locker room might be getting traded or
that's also
signed
true.
somewhere else. So again, he might be in a position. I got to position myself what's best for the team.
Yeah.
Right. But like I'm saying, people like he's lying to us. Like you're not in the room. Like what, guys? You got. Listen, the most successful people in sports. I'm going to prove this to all of you right now. Right? Mm-hmm. It's going to make you laugh. You got to take emotion out of a lot of decision making in sports. A lot of it. Right. I'll give you a great example. We're on to Cincinnati. Tom Brady is going to go someplace. Guys, the best coaches show very little emotion unless they win. The only time you ever see Belichek smile is when he won, like the Super Bowl, or when he's messing with the rules to the point that he manipulates the game because he's an evil genius. All right, but like the other thing too is, like I said, this can also get you in trouble. To be fair, like hey, let's not give Beast Mode the ball. All right, or hey, let's pull our great pitcher out.
Yeah, you can sometimes overthink things as well.
But people I know Giants fans. I know you're pissed. You got to take the emotion out of it. You have to look at it on a surface level. Eagles fans are really heartbroken. It's tough. This is our Super Bowl, guys. I get it.
Yeah,
I get it. But I've also been behind the scenes long enough to know that's not how you make good decisions. All right.
Yeah, and I would also argue that this is also better for the Giants because if the Giants were a playoff team, they'd be getting the 19th overall pick. Instead, we're getting the 11th.
I'm just saying this,
folks.
Just
I know there's
go ahead, Ray. Sorry.
There's a romanticism around the Giants because of the miracle runs that we've had for our last 2 Super Bowls. Yes. And I know that there's somebody out there that thinks, well, if we got in, who knows what could happen? We beat the Seahawks one week. It's like that, and also I would have also loved the opportunity to knock Tom Brady out of the playoffs one more time. Personally, I thought that would have been very funny, but. The Giants were not going to win the Super Bowl this year.
In fact, let's take this another look. Let's look at the Redskins in the playoffs, right? The only way I'm going to look at the Redskins as legit playoff contenders is if they get back to the Bucs and then Green Bay. And if that happens, you have to be like, oh, okay, right? But like none of these teams deserve to be in the playoffs, and there are good teams out of the playoffs right now.
The Dolphins,
right? And that's the NFL for you. But come on, guys. Again, take the emotion out of it. That's my final word, is you got to analyze these situations. We have a thing called the 24-hour rule in coaching where players and coaches or parents, we don't talk for 24 hours after a game. Nobody flexed that last night, right? You got to take some time. It hasn't even been 24 hours, by the way. Yeah. Look at the situation, knowing you will never know what actually happened. But here's the thing. In my experience, not knowing Doug Peterson, he has only done things with integrity. Right? And although, again, very weird, I don't know why he would suddenly just lose all his integrity because of a decision that from his point of view is probably keeping his integrity. I believe that he told Nate Sudfeld before the game he was going to play tonight. Or last night, excuse me.
I mean, and again, I think even that, the only real question mark that really remains is, again, and Hurts seemed really angry and disappointed. And again,
he'll get over it real quick.
You hope so. You hope so. Because, again, now that it comes back to Wentz, right? Again, we don't know what's going on. Right. But supposedly now you have a coach who's lost the quarterback. you already are planting, possibly planting the seed of now you have another quarterback that doesn't trust you.
And here's the thing. I don't think that's going to happen because I think that's an easy conversation of, hey, listen, Jalen, I told Sudfeld he'd be in. Again, we don't know the conversations that took place.
And also, God forbid if Hurts got hurt in the last 10 minutes of the game.
Yeah.
Like, no offense to Nate Sudfeld, but you're expendable, boss.
Here's the thing, too, about Wentz that becomes becomes curious, right? Mm-hmm. There's been a lot of reports about him being a bad locker room guy, which I have always defended. We don't know. You just don't know.
Yeah, we don't know. We're not there.
But now you start to wonder, okay, now is there any truth to those things if he's getting moved? Maybe he is hurt in the locker room. I don't know. The point is we're never going to know. But this is how I look at it as a coach, Ray. Again, too much emotion. If Jalen was upset last night, that's a quick conversation with him, head coach to quarterback, and it's settled. Because Jalen Hurts wants to be a quarterback in the NFL.
Yeah.
All right. Wentz will get a job no matter what, no matter where he is next year.
There's plenty of teams that could use a quarterback like him.
So these are easy conversations that the media and the hot stove are going to blow completely out of proportion because they need something to talk about, right? But again, when I analyzed last night, again, very weird, very questionable, but not as big a deal as people are making it sound. It does not help that the entire New York Giants army is on the back of the Eagles. But I will say this again to you, defending my team, you Giants fans, if you're blaming the Eagles for not making the playoffs, typical New York garbage with that. Look at yourselves.
The only
be
thing
accountable.
you need to be worried about now, though, as an Eagles fan, is that this could give again a Giants team that is improving.
Right.
Now is going to have a reason to come after you guys hard next year.
That's what makes the NFC East the best division with that stuff, right?
Can't wait to break Jalen Hurts' legs.
Yeah, that's a bit much. But anyway,
no,
look, my point
that
is
was a joke, by the way. That was a joke.
Yeah,
Obviously, the Giants have a history of doing that, but that was a joke.
Right. I'm knocking on all the wood here. Look, my point is this is what makes rivalries great, okay? And like I said, the Eagles have one with the Cowboys because the Cowboys blew us out one season without holding any mercy. I mean, the Giants already hated the Eagles enough. Guys, this is all fandom in football. It's awesome. Yeah. But I'm just saying, like, from an operational standpoint, be accountable. Come on. With that record, you're blaming the Eagles who had the worst record for you not making the playoffs? Get over it. Grow up. Yeah. And Eagles fans suck too. Look, I don't want to, because that's usually the common comment. Eagles fans aren't any better. I'm not talking about Eagles fans. Eagles fans can be really horrible. Okay, I'm not a super fan of Eagles fans, even though I'm one of them.
Always be careful when they buy batteries.
Yeah, but I'm not talking about the Eagles, and that's my point. I'm talking about the Giants right now, right? So like again, this doesn't excuse Eagles fans who by the way, a lot of Eagles fans today are upset with the Eagles as well. Just so a lot of people know.
No, again, I mentioned that. You had folks commenting on the post I made last night. Is that with the meme? Is that look, there's a lot like I think they tanked. I don't think that's necessary. I think they tanked. It is what it is. A lot of Eagles fans think they tanked. It is what it is.
Right.
Like it's like you said, it was better for them as an organization to tank, but then of course you talk about the integrity of the game,
right.
And then
and Ray, if I may, this is my final thought on it. Okay, there's two scenarios, and they're both extremes. One is they purposely threw the game. That's the worst scenario. The other one is that he told Sudfeld, "Hey, you're going in. He's a man of his word." All right. My guess is it's somewhere between the two.
Yeah.
Okay. And by the way, what that is I'm putting Sudfeld in no matter what the score is, and if we lose, we lose. That's probably what happened, guys. That's probably where it's at. It's up to each one of you individually to decide if that is taking away from the integrity of the game. Although I will say that the Eagles are not the only team in the history of football that have done something like that. Just going to say that.
Just the only ones we can think of right now.
Again. You know other teams have done that. You know it. All right?
Probably.
I don't
probably
buy
not as blatant. Maybe not as blatant.
Well, how about not in as much spotlight? I think that's for
sure.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
All right. But again, the blatancy of it is questionable. That's what I'm trying to say. Just really weird. Really.
Yeah. It was very weird. Yeah. Exactly. I think that it was the lack of even trying to hide the fact that you're probably tanking that game, and I think that's where a lot of folks get mad because again, that's where the integrity comes into question.
And this is why I gave Washington credit at the beginning of the segment and not waiting till the end, because they did deserve to win the division. So anyway, now moving on away from football until next week till we talk about playoffs.
It's time for very briefly hockey. The Capitals signed Zdeno Chara. That was weird.
For under $1 million, by the way, for 1 year, which says a lot about where he's at in his career, but also says a lot where he's at when he does his career.
Right. Yeah. He's obviously on the downturn. He wants to have one more shot probably at a cup. And Washington feels they could help. He could help. He's obviously still a presence on the ice. He's an absolute monster, but that'll be interesting. And Lee, you also want to talk about the World Juniors?
I do.
So
I do, because the hockey world is watching this. So for those of you who don't know what the World Junior Tournament is, think about it like the NCAA playoffs for hockey. All the under 20-year-olds in college hockey / junior hockey, which is the equivalent of the NCAA in ice hockey, every year meet for the World Junior Championship, which is by far, in my opinion, as a hockey person on the show, the greatest tournament in hockey outside the Stanley Cup playoffs, right? It's country versus country, and it's always intense. And 10 times out of 10, the stars in the World Junior Championship end up being stars in the NHL. All I want to tell everybody is that the final and the semifinal is about to happen. Canada is playing Russia, and the USA is playing Finland. Those games are happening today, with the championship coming up tomorrow with the winners of those games. It's been a great tournament. Overall, if you love hockey, you need to watch this tournament. That's all I'm saying. Again, massive audience in Canada for this, Ray. I don't know if you knew that or not, but like all of Canada stops for the World Junior Championship every year. And again, if you're a hockey fan, you need to check this out. That's my plan.
I will not be watching the World Juniors.
That's your loss, buddy. I mean that. It's your loss.
Yeah, I don't even know where I could watch. Honestly, I don't even know where.
NHL Network. NHL Network.
Yeah, I'm not paying for that.
So you don't have. No, I wouldn't pay for it. But I'm saying if you can see these games, it's phenomenal hockey, and the hockey audience of the show will agree with me on that.
Yeah. No, yeah. So, well, have fun. I'm not going to watch.
That's fine. You don't have to.
Although if you told me to pick the 4 countries that'd be in the semifinals, I could pretty much have probably said U.S., Canada, Russia, and Finland.
And then this is why people need to watch, because Canada and U.S. are usually pretty far into it, but that's not how it works. I mean, Czech Republic has been there. Germany has been a force to be reckoned with. Sweden and Finland going back and forth. Sweden is the first time Sweden hasn't been there in a while. So again, it's not like 100 countries in the tournament, but like it's great hockey. So if you guys love hockey, check that out.
There you go. Moving on to basketball. Big deal with the Spurs. It's very early in the season. Not a lot going on in terms of anything to be really keeping an eye on yet. Teams are still trying to find identities, trying to figure each other out. Even the Knicks are 3-3, so that's how you know it's still early in the season. But a couple of big stories. First off, Becky Hammon becomes the first woman coach in NBA history when she takes over for Greg Popovich of the Spurs when he got ejected.
Another glass
that was
shattered.
Yeah, it was a very big deal for him to hand over the reins to her. And congratulations. I mean, it's been a long time coming. The NBA is very well known for usually breaking barriers of that regard and whatnot. So
this one was done awesome, and of course, Popovich is totally the guy that would make that happen. By the way,
yeah, and he basically in a very Popovich fashion was just kind of like afterwards, like, well, I knew she could do it, so that was it.
Becky Hammon's been with the team for several years. This is not a lot of people probably didn't realize that, but yeah, it was just very nonchalantly a major glass ceiling shattered. Which is kind of awesome, right? Like, it wasn't a big deal. Just kind of happened, and it's more progress for women in sports, and women belong in sports. So this is great.
Yeah, so that was a great story from the NBA. And then also last night, Steph Curry dropped 62 points against the Trailblazers, a new career high for him. 62. And then, of course, this sparks the always fun conversation of who's the best player in the league. I don't care.
Yeah, Ray and I were talking about this before the show, and we wanted to bring it up quickly on the show. Yeah. Look, if you got to pick the best player, it's LeBron. Steph's in the conversation. There's other guys in the conversation. But what we want to talk about is why do we have to keep having this conversation? And why is basketball the only sport that still has to have this conversation?
Constantly.
Right? Yeah, like we were talking about this. Other sports don't seem to have this conversation. Like, you got the Bradys, you got the Gretzkys.
You have the conversations, but not nearly as much
every day in the NBA. It's a team sport. And any NBA player will tell you that. But the individualism that's being injected into this is starting to become a bit annoying. All right?
Right. But I think the thing is the problem is that with basketball, a single individual can truly change a team.
Absolutely.
Way more than, football's 53 guys, hockey's 21, baseball is 25.
The key word is team.
Right, but you put LeBron James on any other team and they're an instant playoff team.
That's not true anymore.
Look, maybe not.
No. Listen. It's not. If you put LeBron James on a competitive team, yes. But we saw he went to the Lakers. They did not have the pieces they needed to win, and they did not even make the playoffs. So that's not a shot at LeBron at all. It's a team sport. And even if you have the best player in history, whoever you think that is, and surrounded by 4 guys that know how to play with him, that have comparable skill, you're going to succeed. But it is a team sport. Remember, those 4 guys on the court supporting LeBron, that is a role. That is a team sport. If it was LeBron by himself, he would never win a game. Okay, or Curry. Now, real quick, Curry's changing the game and how it's played by his ability to just shoot from outside the 3-point line. It's incredible.
Right.
Okay, this is my thought on this. Okay, look. I'm not saying don't have the debate about the best player. We all do that in all the sports. Maybe we should start, looking at it a little bit differently. That what they've contributed to the sport, how they changed the sport, and be thankful. And this is the thing that kills me. And this is for all sports, not just basketball. Be thankful you have so many players you have to pick from about who's the best.
Yeah.
Enjoy them all. Have the discussion, but enjoy them all. Right? You look in hockey, it's Ovechkin and Crosby, and then you got McDavid and you got Nate McKinnon, and enjoy them all.
Right.
You don't have to pick one all the time. But again, basketball is taking this conversation to another. Every time someone has a big game, we have to have the conversation. That doesn't happen in hockey. All right? It doesn't happen in baseball or football either. That's my thing. What are we doing here? Steph Curry is the best 3-point plus shooter I've ever seen. LeBron's the best overall player I've probably ever seen. Okay. All right, it's Jordan, but that's not the point.
Yeah,
okay?
It's still Jordan.
I know. These are the conversations. So I just, again, I'm going to say it again. They're injecting too much individualism into a team sport.
Right.
Okay? While I totally agree with you, Ray, that in basketball, one player can make a much bigger difference than a player on another team in another sport. Totally agree with that. Still a team sport.
No, that's fair. I mean, it's going to be, I mean, it is what it is. But, I mean, the NBA's been going this way for a long time. Again, it's also a lot less guys, even on the roster, which makes the individual a bigger piece. Right? You're, again, baseball, 25 guys, 9 guys in the field at any given time. Football, 11 guys in the field at any given time, 53-man rosters. Hockey, lines are constantly changing. You're playing 18 guys every night. Basketball, you're playing 8 or 9 guys every night.
Right.
You have your 5 starters.
I agree.
So the individual becomes a bigger chunk of that because there's less.
I just think it's gone beyond the point of, it's too much now for me. It's wow. What about the other guys supporting him?
Yeah.
There's no Jordan without Pippen, and he said that.
Yeah.
Okay? There's no Curry without Thompson, right? There's a lot of these things, but come on, we got to move on from we got to expand that conversation. I don't want to say move on from that; wouldn't be fair.
Well, speaking of moving on, we should move now into our mashup of the week.
Ooh, nice. That was smooth.
Thank you.
Well done.
So for this one, we talked a bit about Wonder Woman earlier, which is kind of a fish out of water element, but also Ted Lasso, which is very much a fish out of water element. So our mashup for the week would be: what game character would you like to see out of their element? So what would you like to see in terms of a change of character from the typical kind of game that you see? For me, I got a couple that come to mind immediately.
Go for it.
But the first one is, and the only reason why I think about this is because it was teased a long time ago and then it kind of fell apart, was Mega Man as a first-person shooter.
Okay.
Was that instead of, and they tried to do this kind of similar to how they reinvented Metroid Prime, but the project fell apart. Would love to see that. I'd also love to see Mario maybe as from a first-person perspective.
Okay, so I'm thinking about this a little differently, but you can still go from here. Mega Man is a first-person shooter, but now put him into another first-person shooting game.
A Call of Duty.
Right. So that's what I'm trying.
Crazy.
That's the
Mega Man and Call of Duty would be hysterical.
So that's the mashup to me. Is you're taking Mega Man and you're putting him in Call of Duty. He's a fish out of water in another game. Right? Yeah. It would be really funny if you did that.
Actually, Mario in Call of Duty and a first-person
what
perspective
you doing?
would be nobody. He comes back from Vietnam or something, and he's this grizzled PTSD guy, and he's really just all the Koopas are PTSD hallucinations.
Can you imagine that if and his voice is different? It's a me, Mario. He's really upset.
I saw Luigi die.
That's the fish out of water is what I mean.
Charlie took Luigi.
Yeah, right. The Viet Cong. Let me tell you a story about my life.
The Viet Koopa. Yeah,
Viet Koopa. That's good. So yeah, that was my idea, Ray, is that we're taking a game character and putting him in another game.
There we go. All right, I like that. There we go.
And now they're interchangeable too. It's what if you put Call of Duty guys into Mega Man? So the one I was thinking, I got a couple. One was, and these are funny. I was thinking at first taking Link and put him in another open world adventure game like Assassin's Creed. And I was like, Link would probably get murdered in an Assassin's Creed scenario. Or if he's just, can you imagine if he's in a market just hacking, hit, hi, Navi, listen, stop that. But then I thought it would be funny what if you put Ezio in Hyrule? He's just assassinating people left and right. I mean, can you imagine that?
Ganondorf would never have the time to get the Triforce of Power. He'd just be stabbed in the back.
That's what I'm saying. So I thought that would be interesting. And then I started thinking weirdly, and this is like a full-out mashup, but I was like, what if we took Samus and put her in The Mandalorian? Or put the Mandalorian in Metroid?
I think would actually fit a lot.
Yeah, imagine that the Mandalorian was in Metroid. Obviously, I'm going old school with my games, once again. Or what if you put Little Mac from Mike Tyson's Punch-Out in Call of Duty, right? Just that would be it. That would end quickly. But yeah, no, I thought those would be fun. But we want to know what you think. So comment below and let us know what video game character would you like in a fish out of water, put him in another video game scenario. I like what Ray did, taking Mega Man, putting him in a first-person scenario, and then dropping him right down into Call of Duty. That would be really funny to me.
Yeah, let us know what you guys think on everything today. We talked about a lot today, a lot of different things, and we got the show back under 2 hours. So how about that?
Wow, we could keep talking for no.
We could. Wow. We honestly, there's plenty of stuff that we ended up cutting again today. There's plenty of stuff, but we're gonna save it for next week, and we hope you join us then. For Lee, I'm Ray. Thank you all so much for tuning in to episode 90 of Geeks Who Like Sports. As always, comment on the Facebook group, Instagram, Twitter. We're everywhere. You can find us. Email us, geekswhoLikeSports@gmail.com, or Ray, Lee, or even Caitlin at geekswhoLikeSports.com.
Yeah, tell your friends about the show if you like the show.
Yes, please share, subscribe, all that fun stuff. Check out geekswhoLikeSports.com. But hopefully we'll see you next week for episode 91. We got another big one planned for you folks. But until then, have a good night. Take care. And we will see you later. Have a good one. Bye-bye.